The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. The head of the Consultant Physician Staff Association says a stronger response needed to fight the surge in COVID cases as the Rand Memorial Hospital is beyond capacity. MP Brent Simonet urging and supporting the extension of the state of emergency as COVID hospitalizations increase. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Revolution. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Friday, July 30th, 2021. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Stephen Hanna will be joining us. Also this morning, our Dr. D. Archer, host of The Doctor Is In on Guardian Radio, will be with us this morning. We have a lot of issues to talk with her about. And later in Morning Blend Business, we are going to be talking about this ship with invasive beetles. It was offloaded in Grand Bahama. Environmentalists will weigh in on what this all means. That's coming up in Morning Blend Business. But first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while we're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, as COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations continue to surge, Consultant Physician Staff Association President Dr. Sabrika Pinder-Butler says that it would have been wise for the Prime Minister to consider introducing additional restrictions for the upcoming holiday weekend. In a highly anticipated national address on Wednesday night, the Prime Minister announced no additional restrictions, despite health officials claiming as recently as this month that holiday weekends tend to lead to spikes in cases. When called for comment yesterday, Pinder-Butler says that with the likelihood for certain movements to occur when there aren't restrictions, she would have thought that there would have been an opportunity to consider doing certain things. She says, quote, "When we look to see that we had taken further restrictions, I think last year when we were in a different place, certainly as relates to the healthcare system." She noted that the system is being stretched to capacity. Pinder-Butler continuing that with the holiday weekend and perhaps into next week, we should have considered doing the same. But according to Pinder-Butler, certain hours for beach access should have been considered, even though she says a lockdown would not have been necessary. With more than 1,800 new COVID-19 cases confirmed this month, St. Anne's MP Brent Simonet expressing support for the state of emergency to be extended beyond August 13th. He says that with those numbers, something the Prime Minister should definitely consider. Meanwhile, Grand Bahama Health Services Administrator Sharon Williams saying that the Rand Memorial Hospital is beyond its capacity with COVID-19 patients, noting that the government may have to offer additional assistance if the steady increase in hospitalizations continues. And the Ministry of Health reporting that the number of COVID hospitalizations has jumped. It's jumped from 100 to 106. According to the ministry, 21 people were hospitalized at Doctors Hospital, 8 at the South Beach Acute Care and Referral Center, 45 at Princess Margaret Hospital, and 32 at Grand Bahama Health Services. 11 people are in the intensive care unit. The ministry also reported that 88 people tested positive for COVID-19 on July 28th. In total, 14,545 cases of COVID have been reported since last year. 286 people have died of the virus. An additional death is now under investigation. Investigations continue into the drowning of a baby. The 1-year-old died after he was found at the bottom of a pool shortly after 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Police said the baby was at a home with relatives when he wandered from the home. A few minutes later, police say he was discovered at the bottom of the swimming pool. He was taken to the hospital in serious condition and was pronounced dead. Overseas, Japan expanding a coronavirus state of emergency to 4 more areas in addition to Tokyo today, following record spikes in infections as the capital hosts the Olympics. The Prime Minister declaring an emergency in the 4 areas, as well as the western city of Osaka, effective Monday until August 31st. Emergency measures already in place in Tokyo and the southern island of Okinawa will be extended until the end of August, after the Olympics and well into the Paralympics, which begin on August 24th. The upsurge in cases in Tokyo, despite more than 2 weeks of emergency measures, is raising doubts they can effectively slow infections. 5 other areas will be placed under less stringent emergency restrictions. Tokyo has reported a record increase in cases for 3 days in a row, including 3,865 on Thursday, before logging another 3,300 today. The cases have doubled since last week, although officials say the surge is unrelated to the Olympics. Japan has kept its cases and deaths lower than many other countries, but its 7-day rolling average is growing and now stands at 28 per 100,000 people nationwide and 88 per 100,000 in Tokyo. This compares to 18.5 in the United States, 48 in Britain, and 2.8 in India, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. Officials say 2,995 people are hospitalized in Tokyo, about half the current capacity of 6,000 beds, with some hospitals already full. More than 10,000 others are isolating at home or in designated hotels, with nearly 5,600 waiting at home while health centers decide where they will be treated. Tokyo is also setting up a facility for those requiring oxygen while waiting for hospital beds. In sports, it was a dream come true for Bahamian center forward Kai Jones when he was drafted with the 19th pick in the 2021 NBA draft last night in Brooklyn, New York at Barclays Center. He was drafted by the New York Knicks but was traded to the Charlotte Hornets for a future first-round pick. Jones, clad in a baby pink suit with the inner lining of his jacket having a Bahamian flair with flamingos, the national bird of the country. You can read more about his comments and how he's feeling. Kai Jones, the latest Bahamian in the NBA, in today's Guardian Sports section. And big day for Bahamians. Team Bahamas at the Tokyo Olympics. For more, take a listen to our man Sheldon Longley in Tokyo.
we're going to be policing the emergency powers. I'm not going to be.
Good day, Bahamas. This is Sheldon Longley coming to you live from the site of the 32nd Olympiad here in Tokyo, Japan. And the athletics portion of the Olympics are finally underway for Team Bahamas. 3 competitors in action today for the Bahamas. The 2 high jumpers, Donald Thomas and Jamal Wilson, and also Tania Gacy getting on the track in the opening round heats of the women's 100 meters. Let's start with the high jump first of all. Disappointing day for our high jumpers. Donald Thomas, he was only able to clear 2.21 meters. He finished 25th overall, not good enough to move on to the final. Jamal Wilson, he struggled as well. He was only able to clear the opening height of 2.17 meters. He finished 32nd overall. Just the top 12 jumpers moved on to the final. So both of our high jumpers failing to move on to the final in that event. Let's move now to the 100 meters. Tania Gacy, she was third in the heat. She finished in 11.34 seconds. She'll have to run a whole lot faster if she wants to get into the final. She moved into the semifinals with the second slowest qualifying time. So she'll have to run a whole lot faster if she wants to get into the final on Sunday night. Once again, finishing in 11.34 seconds. She was third in the heat. She qualified with about the 23rd or 24th fastest time overall. Once again, 3 athletes in competition on the opening day of athletics for the Bahamas. Donald Thomas and Jamal Wilson in the men's high jump, and Tania Gacy in the opening rounds of the women's 100 meters. Action continues tomorrow for the Bahamas. The 2 hurdlers will be in action, Devon Charlton and Padrilla Seymour. That will come your way at 9:45 p.m. Friday evening in the Bahamas, which is 10:45 a.m. Saturday morning in Tokyo. And then on Sunday, we will move into the women's 200 meters, the men's 100 meters, and the women's 100 meter finals. Once again, 3 athletes in competition for the Bahamas today. Donald Thomas and Jamal Wilson not moving on to the final of the men's high jump, and Tania Gacy moving through to the semifinals of the women's 100 meters. This is Sheldon Longley reporting live from the site of the 32nd Olympics here in Tokyo, Japan.
And again, you can listen to Sheldon Longley's reports throughout the whole Olympics here on Morning Blend and Guardian Radio. And more from the Olympics, there'll be no Golden Slam. No Golden Slam for Novak Djokovic. The top-ranked Serb in tennis lost to Alexander Zverev of Germany 1-6, 3-6, 6-1 today in the semifinals of the tennis tournament at the Tokyo Olympics. Djokovic was attempting to become the first man to win all 4 Grand Slam tournaments and Olympic gold in the same year. He won the Australian Open, the French Open, and Wimbledon this year, and needed the Olympics and the upcoming U.S. Open titles to complete the collection. Steffi Graf in 1988 remains the only tennis player ever to achieve the Golden Slam. Zverev's opponent in the gold medal match will be Karen Khachanov. Russian beat Pablo Carreno Busta of Spain 6-3, 6-3. Djokovic, who hadn't lost since getting beaten by Rafael Nadal at the Italian Open 2.5 months ago, will play Carreno Busta for bronze. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, we've got high pressure coupled with Saharan dust that will dominate the weather across the country today. Boaters should be alert for possible waterspout activity, while beachgoers in the southeast Bahamas should exercise caution due to the high risk of rip currents at East Coast beaches. Residents should remain hydrated and limit outdoor activities due to high heat indices expected to soar into the triple digits again today. For all areas, your forecast calls for mostly sunny, hot, and hazy conditions, with a few isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms, mainly offshore. Expect breezy conditions in the southeast Bahamas today, mostly fair and warm tonight. For boaters, a small craft caution remains in effect for the southeast Bahamas. Small craft operators should also be alert for gusty winds and higher seas in or near heavy showers or thunderstorms. Wind southeast to south at 10 to 15 knots in the northwest and central Bahamas, easterly at 15 to 20 knots in the southeast Bahamas. sees 2 to 4 feet in the northwest and central islands, but 4 to 7 feet in the southeastern islands. Temperature-wise, right now, about 82 degrees in Nassau, partly cloudy skies, 82 in Freeport. Look for highs getting up to around 92 Fahrenheit, 33 Celsius, but the heat index will be up to 110 Fahrenheit, 43 Celsius. Not going to be pleasant. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook and a look at the tropics coming up after traffic in just a bit. You're listening to Morning Blend. When we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on Guardian Radio 96.9, your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
It's so summer with Esso, and that's why we're giving away thousands of dollars in fuel, food, and other fun prizes every week. Simply fuel up at $25 or more. Enter using your receipt, and you could be a winner this summer with Esso. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bettergasmileage.com/its-so-summer or our Facebook page for details. Promotion ends August 29th, 2021. It's fun! Food, fuel, and other great prizes every week. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, Stephen Hanna. Good morning, Stephen Hanna.
Morning.
Hope all is well.
No, right here, holding on.
Oh my. Okay, well, that's the best we can do sometimes. We have a lot to get to this morning, a lot to talk about. You can join the conversation. Tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook us, facebook.com/MorningBlend969. You can even email us, morningblend@nasguard.com, or you can text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC, 422-GR96. 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. And if you're listening on the Morning Blend app, you can send us your messages directly from the app as well. Coming up this morning, more weather and traffic. And as you said, a lot to get to this morning, a lot of COVID news to talk about, lots of responses to what the Prime Minister had to say, lots of people giving their views on how we should be dealing with this holiday weekend coming up. And as we approach the supposed deadline, the end of this emergency order, what people are saying about that. We'll get to that this morning. Also, Dr. Dee Archer, who hosts the show The Doctor Is In. She is going to be with us this morning as well. We'll talk about some of these medical issues with her. Then later in Morning Blend Business, we're going to talk about this issue that got a lot of people worked up yesterday. This ship that sailed into Freeport with wood with some invasive beetle species. We're going to talk about that with some environmentalists about why this is so concerning. So that's coming up this morning. A lot to get to, as we said, but let's begin with what's in the news. And in the news, just want to begin briefly by congratulating Bahamian Kai Jones after being drafted with the NBA last night, being selected 19th by the New York Knicks. Of course, as we heard last night, that he's going to be traded immediately to the Charlotte Hornets. And a deal that was made, so he's going to be a Charlotte Hornet. But he was selected by the Knicks last night, and we can see him right on the front page of the National Guardian with his very flashy pink suit and flamingos inside the jacket there, representing the 242, I'm sure. But congratulations to him, and that's 3 Bahamians in the NBA, and it's pretty impressive for such a very small country. But, yeah, that's wonderful stuff there. And, of course, we are hearing more from the Olympics. Our Sheldon Longley keeping us abreast there. And not so good news for our high jumpers. They failed to move to the next round. But keeping an eye on what's happening on the track. And so far, we are encouraged, and we are looking for some great things to come out of the Olympics for our track athletes this year. But I know, Stephen, every year I talk about this, every Olympics especially, about the sports that I see, and I'm just saying, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I'm obsessed now with handball. I really think we could get a team. Really think we could do it. And then...
We probably could. I mean, the issue isn't that the sports don't exist or that nobody can play them. The issue is funding. Because, let's be honest, people... particularly companies, because the companies are the ones with the money, and a handful of individuals. They are not willing to put the funding behind certain things unless you've already made yourself established. For example, the young man, Kai, we all know about him now, but I'm sure that when he was just a promising young lad playing basketball on the side of the road, plenty CEOs try past him, plenty whatever. Nobody was checking for him until he already didn't need them. You know what I mean? So it's like that. The real pressure is going to have to come on the companies and the individuals who can fund these things, because they're inside any area inside the Bahamas. There's probably tons of talent. There's tons of gold medals. There's tons of $1 million athletes. But they're never going to reach that point because they have to be more realistic about life and be like, well, I need to get a job next year, next week, today. You know what I mean? So handball is probably one. Water polo is definitely one. Soccer is one. Like there are tons of things that there are Bahamians who are doing really, really well at, but they got to have the actual financial support to back it up.
Well, yeah, that's definitely part of it. Some of these that I'm talking about, though, are obscure sports that we definitely don't do here. And I think we could do well at them. And I suspect we won't see any success because there's no interest. If there were the interest, if there was a program in schools, things might change and the companies might change their view on some of these things. But again, we have to have the interest.
These companies barely support baseball.
Yeah.
And we know we have a ton of baseball. First of all, the MLB don't look for baseball players in America. They only look for baseball players outside of America. So it's like we have a straight pipeline, and we still don't have the level of support that we need from these companies.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's my position on it. I agree with you in terms of there are probably tons of stuff out there where it's like, whoa, that's a sport? We do that all the time. Or we could totally do that. But once again, if jumping jacks or spinning top was an Olympic sport and there was still no one to say, oh, I will support you so that you don't have to work a 40-hour-a-week job so that you could train for this, then yeah, we get gold, but that's not happening. We have ex-Olympians who had to go get regular jobs because of the lack of funding inside sports in the Bahamas. So it's like I see what you're saying, but the more obscure the sport, I feel like even less likely for them to get money for it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a chicken and egg situation. So the lack of interest is not encouraging companies, but also the lack of incentives for companies to do this. All of this is contributing to where we are, unfortunately. And everybody has to be more creative. The government, and we have to urge the government because they won't do it on their own. We have to urge them, fight them, make sure they understand that we do need them to find creative ways to get the sponsorship
but see, that's the
for
thing.
these sports if we are indeed interested.
When these people get gold or get international recognition, all of the companies clamor to have a poster with this person. They will run to the airport barefoot just so they can say, "Oh, Buddy Hield coming into town. Let's see if we could get an interview with him, so we could say that this telecommunication company agree with him, or this one agree with him, or this one supports Buddy Hield, or so we could associate ourselves with his winning." And nobody care about Aiden when he was inside Nassau Village. Yeah. You understand? So it's like I don't feel like it's a chicken and egg situation, and I know that they know the value of it, but they don't want to make the investment. They want the cheap way out, which is I can wait till Dwight Strachan win a gold medal, and then I could go try to associate myself with him. But I could associate, the benefit is if I with Dwight from day one, when he win a gold medal or a silver medal or even just make it on the world stage, he is my boy. He could have a shirt on that have my name on it because that was the uniform that I give him to help him get that far. You know what I'm saying? But these people, they're literally just taking the cheap way out.
Yeah. Hey, man, don't
forget, we had Olympic teams that had to struggle to get uniforms to go off before.
Yeah.
That's in recent history. They couldn't afford the uniforms.
Hey, in other countries, these companies aren't doing it out of the love in their heart for the most part. They get real good incentives, real great tax breaks, and we really have to be more creative in the way that we do this. Unfortunately, you do wish that they would see the value in it, but often they have other issues, other obligations, sadly. But tax breaks will be a very powerful tool to get people to act.
I promise you, Puma and Sprint don't need no tax incentives to do it. The reason they're doing it is because they want the endorsement. They want Usain Bolt to be like,
yeah, that's a big part of it as well.
Fastest network inside that's what they want.
Yeah.
And so it's like everyone needs to see the value in it, not just the people who are participating in the sport, not just the viewers, but also the persons who have tons. And I without doubt, Dwight, the people who have the money, they see the value in it. But what they also see is there's a cheaper way for them to do it. And that is how business is run inside the Bahamas. Yeah. What is the highest profit margin? What is the cheapest way that we could do this? Let us wait until they do something. They have to prove themselves to us. And then we are going to take 3 pictures with them.
Yeah.
And
that's where the incentives would help because they will do that. Absolutely. And if it would be more affordable for them to do it, you'd likely see more of this.
I don't think so, but okay.
Well, hey. All right. So in other news, like we said, we're going to talk about this a lot more in Morning Blend Business. This is a scary story. What is up with this ship that arrived in Grand Bahama? Our Chester Robards writing about it in the Guardian business section. Concerns have arisen about whether wood infested with a tree-destroying beetle was offloaded on Grand Bahama after the United States Customs and Border Protection discovered the wood on a ship anchored in the Mississippi River. The boat was heading to Freeport, Grand Bahama, after it left New Orleans, according to an article in the New Orleans Advocate. The article states, quote, the beetle, a member of the, I cannot pronounce this, Cerambycidae family. Anyway, it's, a family of long-horned beetles, picture that, bores into wood and can feed on a wide variety of trees in the U.S., eventually killing them. Also discovered was a type of ant, a member of the also unpronounceable family, that forms permanent colonies that can compete with native species and damage crops. Now, according to the article, the ship was ordered to leave U.S. waters. It departed July 21st from Freeport, Grand Bahama, for wood disposal services. Federal agents inspecting a cargo ship near New Orleans ordered it out of the country after finding it was infested, with a type of Asian beetle that has been destroying trees in the U.S. for about 25 years now. Noted Grand Bahama environmentalist Joseph Darville, who will be our guest this morning, sent out a voice note that went viral yesterday claiming that the wood was offloaded in Grand Bahama, although that could not be independently verified by Guardian Business. And I can tell you that I've been in touch with officials with the Department of Environmental Protection here, and they are investigating this as well. An investigation is underway, I am told. Now, Darville's saying in that voice note that the wood ended up at the Grand Bahama landfill and was sprayed with a substance in an effort to kill the beetles after it was found that the wood might be contaminated with them. And calls to Grand Bahama members of Parliament were not successful up to press time yesterday. The article explained that if left uncontrolled, these creatures and other invasive wood-boring beetles could cause more than $100 billion in damage, and they were talking about to the U.S. economy. So just a horrifying, terrible situation, and raises many questions. And this is not the first time we've had to deal with this, that something like this has happened, that we've learned that something has been dumped here or that it's going to sail through the country. And you keep wondering if we are seen as the toilet of the Western Hemisphere, if not the world. Again, we're going to have a lot more to say on this, but you can send us your messages. We can start that conversation going now. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. Morning, Stephen. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Good morning.
Morning to the Bahamas. Three quick points. First of all, it is called, Stephen, a National Sovereign Wealth Fund, my friend, or a National Sovereign Sports Fund, or something on that order, in terms of us as a nation being able to independently support our athletes. Thank God for the corporate citizens who've done it over the years, but we should not have been waiting on corporate Bahamas. We should have had some kind of a National Sovereign Fund by now that we could have used to fund endeavors for the country like our Olympic athletes, etc., etc. But like they say, where there's no vision, you end up running into these kind of problems. Secondly, regarding this matter with this beetle invasive species, Dwight, the Bahamas is obviously being compelled, propelled, forced into the global village, whether we, the citizenry, want it or not. And my point in saying that is, these are the consequences of being a player on the global scene. Whether it was rightly done, improperly done, is not my point of concern at the moment. The fact is, unfortunately, the matter has happened, but if we were not a part of the global village, it probably might not have happened. But since we are, we must be prepared and put systems in place that we can fight against this. And why did somebody not simply incinerate the wood? Why did they not just simply burn the wood as opposed to offloading it and putting it in a landfill? I mean, don't people think anymore?
No.
And my last point of concern, answer this question for me, please, if you can, Dwight, regarding the Prime Minister's speech on Wednesday. Did he say, because I didn't hear it, did he say that bush medicine don't work regarding fighting COVID-19?
I don't recall that.
Yeah, because I heard some folks mentioning it yesterday. Well, since I didn't hear it, I can't speak definitely to it, but let me just simply say this as a general point. If any official gets up and tells me in the Bahamas that bush medicine cannot work to fight COVID-19, I'm simply going to ask them, where is the scientific study by the Natural Sciences Department at the University of the Bahamas determining whether or not that statement is true? If they cannot provide me that study, I'm going to respectfully tell them, stop talking, stop making noise, and stop knocking things that Bahamians have been used to for years and have benefited this country. Israel did a study some years ago on the fever grass tea. And it was said to be able to kill cancer using the terminology suicide, that there's an element in the fever grass tea that makes cancer cells commit suicide. My point in raising that, gentlemen, is this. There are so many natural plants out there that pharmaceutical companies over the years have extracted chemicals from that have benefited society, but indeed their deep pockets have grown. Why is it then that if certain elements could have benefited, like aspirin and other elements from plants, why could not today plants be studied and be shown to benefit you and me, health-wise, in terms of fighting COVID-19? If the Prime Minister did say that, again, I didn't hear him, but if he did say that...
I really don't remember. I don't recall that. I don't think that happened.
Well, you know, all I can say is, and I've heard actually health professionals say words to that effect, so that's why I'm making it general. If anybody in the medical profession was to say that, I cry shame on them until they can show the public studies that would prove that bush medicine don't work. Otherwise, strengthen your immunity, my fellow Bahamians, and bush medicine is good for doing just that.
Okay.
Take care, gentlemen. God bless.
Thank you very much. All right, let's read some of your messages here. Someone says here, the interesting thing about this vessel, it was denied entry into 2 countries. How did this infested vessel get allowed to enter the Bahamas? Not so long ago, a ship that was on fire was allowed to sail into the Bahamas. We really need to do better. Now we're the laughing stock globally again. Okay.
I don't even care about being the laughing stock. Y'all worry about the wrong thing. I need to worry about the fact that, the amount of damage this thing can do is a problem. All right? So whether or not people are laughing, you need to worry about your health and safety at this point. Because if this thing gets loose in this country, that's it. Any sort of, all of our wood is at danger. All right? And I don't understand for the life of us, if I go to the airport right now and I have an apple, I cannot take that apple to the United States. They will make me throw it away. We don't even grow apples in the Bahamas. The apple probably come from the States, but I'm not allowed to take an apple over there. Why are we taking an entire ship filled with an invasive species that's going to destroy the local forest? And then we didn't even incinerate it, like the caller said. We were like, oh, we'll spray it. Because if it was that simple, why did the United States decide to send the whole boat out of their country? If it's as simple as just buy a can of Raid and spray it, and you should be good.
Wow. Here's some more text messages. Our seas are the dumping ground for cruise ships waste, and our land is the dumping ground for invasive pests. Why would a ship bring materials to the Bahamas to go straight to the landfill? That right there should have raised red flags. Who proved that? We'll see if we can get answers later. This one says, who's trying to destroy the fledgling logging industry in the Bahamas? Check Abaco for a similar shipment. Just remember what happened to our citrus industry in order to ensure the Florida groves thrive. Oh, boy. Burning that wood would have been the best solution. We can't afford another major problem in this country. And people saying, yeah, he did say that. I really don't remember that happening, but okay.
I vaguely remember him saying something similar to, I don't remember the exact words, but I do remember him mentioning bush medicine. I think that, it's whatever, because at the end of the day, it's like, yes, there may be bush medicine that is effective in the direct treatment of COVID-19.
Direct?
I'm saying there may be, but until the same way everybody's saying, oh, well, where's your data, where's your proof? When we have the proof, when we have the research, when we have the data, then everybody can get behind it and recommend it. Right now, it's just people guessing and hearsay, because there's no one even has anecdotal evidence to say when this person took Sarah C, suddenly they no longer had COVID-19. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not enough to say, I feel like this might be a good idea. The same way everybody is hyper scientists all of a sudden, and they're like, well, the FDA didn't say this and this and that. We have to interrogate everything. You can't just only interrogate the things that you don't feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And accept the things that you feel, because you're already taking bush medicine. A lot of Bahamians just drink bush medicine every morning. And so they feel like, well, I already doing something. I don't need to do nothing else. Y'all just don't want me to do the thing that I already doing. And
well, folks, do you. No, if you do bush medicine, do it, and still protect yourself the way that you're supposed to with this thing, right? Do it all. As Stephen's saying, there's no evidence to support it yet.
They're not looking at us doing it all. But my whole thing is just before you go and jump off the bridge into the water, make sure there's water down there. That's all I say.
All right. Yeah. So this text here, this is the last one on this. The Prime Minister did say bush medicine won't help against COVID-19. I think he meant to say bush medicine is not proven against proven to aid in the fight against COVID-19. Okay. All right, folks. Well, we can get all worked up over that one. But hey, as we said, if that's what you feel like, and if you have been saying it over and over to boost your immune system, yes, do all of those things. And you still have to sanitize and wear your masks and socially distance yourself from people, and do not go in large crowds. All of these things together will indeed, I'm sure, help. All right. Let's move on to COVID. An article in today's Nassau Guardian. The head of the Consultant Physician Staff Association, she's saying a stronger response is needed. And she was expecting to hear more from the Prime Minister about this holiday weekend, which we are just about in. Dr. Sabrika Pinder-Butler saying that it would have been wise for the Prime Minister to consider introducing additional restrictions for the upcoming holiday weekend. When called for comment yesterday, Pinder-Butler said, quote, when you know that the likelihood for certain movements to occur when there aren't restrictions, I think that should have been a guide for us to perhaps consider doing certain things. She noted that the healthcare system is being stretched to capacity. She says, quote, so now into a holiday weekend and perhaps into maybe next week, it's going to be the same thing. So what does that mean? It's going to mean that people are still not going to be able to get the care that is needed because we still do not have any additional support at this time when we're going into these holidays and different things where we know we keep hearing it, we keep saying it, we keep reading about it. The likelihood for increases potentially happens during those times. So we thought that it would have been wise to consider other mitigating steps to help us during this time. But at the moment, we're still waiting for that to happen. She says, while a lockdown is not necessary and beaches do not need to be closed, but she was saying that perhaps for certain hours, beach access should have been limited, especially for the holiday. She says, quote, if it is that we're going to have more of the COVID ambassadors policing the beaches, then that perhaps may help. And the continued advice to our people to try and limit who you are engaging with, even if you go on the beach and that sort of thing, then that would be helpful. Unfortunately, we always see social media clips where whenever it happens that doesn't happen, we always see something where there is a beach full and no one's wearing masks, everybody's having a party. So I don't know if we've reached the level where we're able to fully police ourselves. I think if our healthcare system wasn't beyond capacity, then we would have room to say, okay, let's see how this works out. But we are beyond capacity. More cases would not be good for anybody. Penny Butler also says Bahamians should all do their part to fight COVID. Okay. So you're listening to what she's saying. What do you make of that? Yesterday, people were, well, let's see, it was a mixed bag. Hey, some people were relieved that there weren't additional restrictions, but some people seemed quite disappointed. In the same paper today, we have St. Anne's MP Brent Simonet saying he supports extending the state of emergency. And we have PLP leader Philip Davis, who is saying that the Prime Minister in his address provided no plan to tackle the surge in cases. So what do we make of all of that? And what will we do to police ourselves? And what will the police do to police ourselves this weekend? Take a listen to this report from our Berthany McDermott, and then we'll get your views on all that people are saying. Take a listen.
We're going to be policing the emergency powers. I'm not going to be focusing on any one group. And as I just said a minute ago, I encourage persons to abide by the provisions of the emergency power orders.
The health minister's announcement last week that church services are now limited to 1 hour was met with frustration by many. Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernando told the Nassau Guardian this week the state cannot dictate to the church, adding the church planned to engage with government to have the 1 hour limit removed. To date, no changes have been made. Roll, who was also a pastor at Golden Gates Assembly, refused to provide details on how it will be enforced.
I'm not going to go into that discussion with the church and the pastors. I said already, what are we going to do? Let's leave that as that.
New restrictions were prompted by an alarming surge in COVID-19 cases. Hospitalizations and deaths are also up. As the holiday weekend approaches, officers are on high alert.
I just signed the operation order for the holiday this morning, and we'll be continuing our efforts and stepping it up, as usual, on these holidays.
Roll cautioned residents to follow emergency orders.
And I still ask persons, to abide by these provisions. Those bars are prohibited, and if we find them, we'll be taking action.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Okay, so you're hearing all of that. What do you say? Give us a call, 323-6232, 325-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. You were saying something?
We have a holiday coming up.
Are you really? What? Huh?
Which holiday?
Wow,
August.
Stephen.
Is it August Monday?
Yes. Emancipation Day, Monday coming. The day after tomorrow.
You only can be emancipated if you're free.
Well, then call it August Monday then. But yeah, that's this weekend. So, what do we say? We're hearing many different things from different people. Stronger response needed. Some people happy that they'll be able to do what they want this weekend, but in limited numbers. And others saying that's not good enough. And as we are not able to police ourselves, this is going to be a problem. And that we've seen these cases rise after the holidays. And this is the last thing we need at this time when every single hospital in the country is claiming they are beyond capacity. And are we on the verge of something horrible? All right, let's go to this call. Good morning, call. You're on the air.
Good morning, guys. How are you this morning?
Doing well. Good morning.
Let me ask you guys a question. Is clubs a part of this emergency order? Did they change the time for clubs?
I don't think clubs have been allowed to open for quite a while, unless they're attached to a hotel.
You're serious about that?
Well, they're not supposed to.
All right, let me give you a prime example. In a particular area where I stay at, right, there are two major clubs. One is for vapors smoking, and the other one is just for people to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to tell me now that they weren't being allowed to open for quite some time?
They're not,
so they were open all along?
An indoor establishment?
Pardon me?
Are they indoor or outdoor?
They are outdoors, but I'm saying to you,
so then
when you pass at a particular time in the evening, the amount of persons that are gathered there and all are young.
guarantee you they're not technically considered a club. They're probably considered a restaurant.
I don't care what they consider.
Well, that's what you're saying, and we all care. But I'm not.
No, I'm saying to you is what I'm trying to.
You're
My
not
point is
listening.
this, right? You put a limitation on the church,
Yep.
but you can tell me someplace that young persons gather, some wearing masks and some not wearing masks. I mean, I watched this for weeks. There's COVID bullies every other day on the bullies' big bus in the front of that club at about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the night.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense at all?
It's very worrisome. It is.
And the thing
We
about
should be
it is,
concerned.
these young kids go back home and take it home to their family, not knowing that they even had a trace of COVID.
That's what's been happening. Yep.
And another thing I want to talk about, the ship that landed in Freeport. Is this about saving human lives, or is this just about finance? Because, like the caller said earlier, there was a ship came from the Eastern Hemisphere about a year ago, or a year and a half ago. It was burning for months, and it had contamination on it. The U.S. refused it. Now we have a ship with contaminated whatever the material is, woods or whatever, landed in our country again. It only could be for finance, because if the U.S. refused it, you think our authorities didn't know why the U.S. refused that ship? Why would they accept it? They should have let that ship, allow the ship to go right back where it came from, right?
That's what the sensible thing would be.
Right. I mean, even if they have to send someone out there to give them some fuel so they can just return back to the country that they came from, the original country. Because
if you want
now
to charge them.
If those particular insects get into our forest, because remember now, Grand Bahama itself is one of our forests.
Yeah.
Grand Bahama, Abaco, Andros, I think they are major forests. You only need one of those insects to get within our forest to mutate. Okay? But anyway, you guys have a nice day.
Okay. Thank you very much. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. This text here, these healthcare officials are are archaic in their thinking and are relying on these old, tired policies. If government does not restrict the tourists, they can't restrict Bahamians. Oh, yeah? Okay. Tell Pinder Butler to continue to work hard with her nurses and help encourage them to get vaccinated, while government officials continue to encourage people to follow the protocols and enforce the law. Okay. Well, they definitely have different rules for tourists than they do for Bahamians. So and they've been doing that from before I was born. So yeah, okay. But I hear you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Dwight. How you doing?
Doing well. Good morning.
Wonderful, and to your guest. You know, I am so tired of us doing things wrong in this society. And considering it, because we've been doing it wrong for so long, we think it's right. When it comes to the state and church, that's like oil and water. And I tell you why. It's because when the state and the church sat down in medieval times to craft up any constitution, the only reason the church was at the table was to let the government know that we would like to have full and unfettered autonomy. That is the word that is missing out of all of the argument. The church in our constitution, in the British Constitution, have full autonomy. To the smart people out there, the autonomy means self-govern. So govern itself. And without interference from state, other entities, and anything. That is what the church has. And it's really a shame to see that the ministers and the pastors and these government people don't know that the church in this country have full autonomy. They don't have no right to dictate to the church what to do. I cry shame on all of those pastors who don't know that.
That's not exactly, no one, and
hello?
That's not exactly correct. I mean, like, yeah, no one is telling anybody how to worship or that they cannot worship. What is being said is like, hey, because we have a national emergency for health and safety reasons, please, don't gather for more than this amount of time.
Listen, I hear you going down that road. You know,
it's not a road.
Look up everybody this morning. This is a history lesson in something. Look up the word autonomy.
Yes,
it's right
I know
there.
the word
Let's
autonomy.
look it up. The church, the government cannot tell the bishops control the church. They decide whether they do an hour service based on the recommendation the government made. The government cannot tell them, churches, you have service for 1 hour. That is wrong. The bishops make that decision. That is what autonomy means. Look it up. Thanks for taking my call.
Okay. All right.
Just so we're clear on it, it's like that's like saying because somebody has autonomy or isn't a part of the government, that they're allowed to do whatever they want to do outside of the government's mandate. So it's like a church cannot build a school in the middle of a land dump just because they have autonomy. It's like there's still things that go with sense and order. And then the other thing is like, I don't understand why people are trying to make this a God versus state situation. The Bible says, render the Caesar what is Caesar's. All right? Like, y'all fighting the wrong battle. All right? Yeah. And it's like, and it's like you need a battle to fight to justify something. And it's like, the fact is, the church has been given extraordinary privileges by allowing, from the beginning of this pandemic, because you were allowed to go to church and religious situations on the weekends. All right? But atheists weren't allowed to congregate for 1 hour on Sundays. You had to be going to church. That's an extraordinary circumstance. Like, they're giving privileges to the church. And so now that they're saying, hey, this thing is kicking back up, we know that we said you could go for 3 hours, 8 hours, however long you want to go. But if you could go back to 1 hour, that'd be great. That's still extraordinary privileges. Because once again, if I randomly decide to have 30 people inside my house tomorrow, the COVID police would be like, what you doing? And I can't be like, oh, we just say are congregating of like mind, blah blah. No, that's a privilege given only to churches and religious organizations. And so it's like, stop making it seem like the government is attacking churches.
Yeah, and
like that because that's untrue.
And quite simply, folks, we are in an emergency, right? These are not normal times, right? That is the simplest thing, the simplest way to remember what's going on here. This is not a decree forever. This is while we're dealing with this crisis. So everybody calm down and just let us follow some of these rules to help us get out of this safely. That's all. We can save those debates for another day. Let's take a break and be back with more of what's in the news on this Friday morning on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
This is AP News. I'm Rita Foley. Welcome home. President Biden's message this morning to those on board the first flight to land in the U.S. carrying Afghans who worked with U.S. troops in Afghanistan. The flight touched down at Washington Dulles International Airport early this morning. On board, hundreds of Afghans, many of whom feared they'd be killed by the Taliban if they stayed in Afghanistan, as U.S. troops pull out. As the coronavirus spikes here in the U.S., President Biden is requiring federal workers to report on whether they've been vaccinated. He's trying to get more Americans to get the shots.
This is American tragedy.
AP Washington correspondent Sagar Magani.
In a bid to boost flagging vaccination rates, the president will require federal workers to attest that they've been vaccinated or face mandatory masking, testing, and other rules. He's also asking the Pentagon to look at adding the COVID shots to vaccines troops are required to get, and he's urging state and local governments to offer $100 to people who get shots.
With incentives and mandates, we can make a huge difference and save a lot of lives.
Sagar Mangani, Washington.
Tornadoes touched down in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. A man died near Ripon, Wisconsin, when his car crashed into a fallen tree and power line. At least 5 people were injured in Pennsylvania when the severe weather hit Bucks County. There will be no Golden Slam for Novak Djokovic. He lost in the semifinals of the Tokyo Olympics tennis tournament. He was trying to become the first man to win all 4 Grand Slam tournaments and Olympic gold in the same year. An oil tanker linked to an Israeli billionaire reportedly came under attack off the coast of Oman in the Arabian Sea last night. We don't have a lot of detail. This comes amid heightened tensions between Israel and Iran. This is AP News. Now to the sharks in the water off New York. Here's our Ed Donahue with what they're doing about this.
Drones and helicopters are patrolling beaches on Long Island in New York. As you would expect, beaches are crowded on Long Island in the summer. Lifeguard Julia Burns says sharks have been sighted.
We had another lifeguard come over and say that they saw a shark breach out of the water and spin. At that point, we had immediately cleared everyone out of the water.
A Jones Beach lifeguard suffered an inch-long gash on his left calf that he believes might have come from a shark. Lifeguard team supervisor Don Clavin says they're watching the water.
This is multiple sharks spotted throughout this shoreline. You're talking 4 miles of beach right here from Point Lookout to Long Beach.
Audio from WABC. The lifeguard says he felt a tug and saw a fin. I'm Ed Donahue.
Stocks were up yesterday. The Dow up 153 points. The S&P up 18. The Nasdaq up 15. I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
Time for your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. In your real-time traffic this morning, we've got Mile Butler Highway. As usual, heavy traffic on your approach northbound to Tawny Williams Darling Highway. Just as you get close to Harold Pond, you'll be seeing that. So that's north of Fire Trail this morning. Glassdoor looking a little bit better for you, but still heavy traffic as you get closer to JFK Drive on that northbound lane there. Blue Hill Road also busy north of Soldier Road, northbound lanes to Independence Drive and the roundabout. And further south near the junction with Carmichael Road, you can be seeing that traffic there as you approach Soldier Road and the northbound lanes. Carmichael Building eastbound to Blue Hill Road. Elsewhere, just some pockets at some of the major intersections so far, but not looking bad for you at this point. We'll have another report for you after the 8 o'clock news. That's your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined. And it's time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Carey's Fabric and Uniform Store. We've got a high-pressure ridge coupled with Saharan dust that will dominate the weather pattern across the country today as we head into the holiday weekend. Boaters should be alert for possible waterspout activity, while beachgoers in the southeast Bahamas should exercise caution due to high risk for rip currents at East Coast beaches. And everybody needs to remain hydrated and limit outdoor activities due to high heat indices expected to soar well into the triple digits again today. Doesn't look like it's going to be pleasant out there at all. For all areas, we're expecting mostly sunny, hot, and hazy conditions with a few isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms, mainly offshore. Expect breezy conditions in the southeast Bahamas today, mostly fair and warm tonight. Small craft caution in effect for the southeast Bahamas, and small craft operators should Be alert for gusty winds and higher seas in or near heavy showers and thunderstorms. With those temperatures, look for highs getting up to around 92 Fahrenheit, 33 Celsius, but the heat index is expected to get up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 degrees Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure will remain the dominant weather feature across the country for the holiday weekend. So for tomorrow, Saturday, partly to mostly sunny and hot with a few isolated showers and a slight chance of thunderstorms. Sunday, partly sunny and hot with a few showers and the chance of isolated thunderstorms. Expect breezy conditions in the central and southeast Bahamas. Thankfully, the tropics remain quiet and tropical cyclone formation not expected during the next 5 days. That's your morning blend weather check, brought to you by Carey's Fabric and Uniform Store. Carey's Fabric Uniform Store on Mackey Street having a 20% off sale on all school uniforms and school uniform fabric. They're now accepting orders to have your uniforms and the uniform skirts custom made. The sale ends this Saturday, July 31st. Call Carey's Fabric and Uniform Store at 393-0758 for more information. That's 393-0758, Carey's Fabric and Uniform Store.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming to stay connected while overseas.
For just $50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or btcbahamas.com. Conditions apply.
Travel less, but vacation more by indulging yourself and your family with the ultimate staycation getaway at Atlantis. Sleep in, relax, play, go out. Say yes to a fantastic staycation in your very own paradise just over the bridge. For reservations, call 363-6483 or visit Atlantis Local on Facebook for details.
RBC Royal Bank introduces our new Saturday banking services on Saturday, July 17th at Cable Beach, Carmichael, and Prince Charles, operating 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. New services will focus on helping clients with advice-oriented needs and getting them more comfortable with RBC digital banking. Cash will only be available through our ATMs and accepted for deposits via our ATMs or non-stop depository services. If you have questions, call our advice center at 356-8500. Reimagine Saturday services with RBC.
Switching your mortgage to CIBC First Caribbean is easy, affordable, and convenient. We'll help with your switching cost, give you 3 months payment free, and waive your commitment fees so you can enjoy the break you need. Plus, you'll get up to 95% financing and a pre-approved Visa Gold or Platinum credit card with 5,000 bonus reward points and more. Switch your home base to CIBC First Caribbean. Terms and conditions apply. Visit CIBCFCIB.com for more information.
Stay a step ahead of technology with certainty and support from Custom Computers. Our know-how team is here to help you zero in on your next big tech purchase, finding solutions that take your productivity to the next level using only the best and most reliable brands. With stores in Palmdale, West Bay, and Old Fort Bay, and free delivery to businesses, there's no stopping you from stepping up your tech. Reach out to us at 396-1100. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
The Water and Sewage Corporation advises customers and residents of Claridge Road that the corporation will commence improvement works beginning Wednesday, July 21st, 2021 to August 6, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily. Customers should note that there may be some interruption in water supply during the works, and the motoring public should note that there may be some traffic diversions around the work area. The corporation apologizes for any inconvenience caused as they work to improve their level of service.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
We're back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Stephen Hanna on this Friday morning. We're talking about what's in the news, getting a reaction to a whole lot of stories in the news. We've been talking about the Olympics, talking about the NBA, Kai Jones being drafted there. We've been talking about beetles, the invasive beetles in wood that appears to have landed there in Grand Bahama. We're going to have more on that coming up a little bit later in Morning Blend Business. Also talking about this holiday weekend, if we are on the verge of seeing behavior that could lead to an increase in the surge we're already seeing. Talking about all of that and getting your reaction to all of this. All right, so somebody here is saying, okay, well, the church limited 1 hour, but I still work 7+ hours a day. No one's mandating us to work only 1 hour. But companies are being encouraged, if they can, to allow employees to work remotely.
Also, how many people do you work around? Because maybe you are working in an unsafe environment. Because it's not the same thing as congregating around persons. Like, you're not supposed to, even if you're working in office, y'all ain't supposed to be on top of each other. Literally, the recommendation is, y'all ain't supposed to be going by each other's desks and talking to each other. That's stated in the recommendation. So I don't know if it's not apples and oranges.
Right. Yes, others are saying how their churches have adjusted and have been doing this since March of last year.
Every church has what is live streaming now.
Live streaming, and so it's not going to be that much of a stretch. They still were functioning under the hour or just barely over. Many churches are saying, so what's the big issue here? Well, I don't know.
Honestly, I feel like there are persons who they're looking for something, and I cannot help but feel like there are things for us to be upset about.
Yeah.
All right? And there are things for you to question and to say, okay, what is the point of this or whatever. But at the same time, it's like you also have to be very aware that there are persons who are seeking to politicize every single thing that happens for the purposes of making either the government look bad or their particular political party look good.
Yeah.
And do not be swept up in that madness.
Yeah.
All right? Don't let somebody try to make God their political mascot so they could get 4 more votes in Centerville or wherever it might be. Don't drag God into your shenanigans and your follery and your foolishness. All right? Because half of y'all who complain about how dare they do this to the church, before COVID, y'all wasn't coming to church. After COVID, y'all ain't coming to church. The only time y'all might go to church during COVID is if y'all drop down dead. All right?
Sure.
So please, save all of your shenanigans and your tomfoolery for somebody else.
Okay.
Don't drag my God into it.
Okay. Here's a text. Dwight, how could you sit there and allow that man to mislead the entire country by suggesting that the church is law unto itself? Are you shocked after listening to this nonsense? I'm not shocked, and I don't think very few, I can't imagine many of our listeners believe that foolishness. So just at this point,
I agree.
Let him say how he feels. But everybody, I'm pretty sure the majority of you listening know better than that.
That's why afterwards I said something, because you never know if somebody listening to it on the jitney and they you don't want them to think, oh well, Dwight didn't respond to that, so
that
maybe that guy is right, even though I didn't think that he was right before. Maybe that guy is right.
Just too numb to respond. But okay, yeah, that's foolishness. Anyway, caller, you are on the air. Are you there? Call us back, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us 422-4796. You there? Yep. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good morning, Dwight. I'm not sure if I may have missed it, but I'm trying to find out what happened with the concert that's supposed to happen on the 30th with the Bahamian artists.
It's been delayed. It's supposed to happen. The last I heard, there was talks about it happening August, like sometime early in August. It had to be rescheduled.
Wow.
Oh dear.
I thought the entire thing was about it being a part of the Independence Month.
That's I actually totally forgot about that. So yeah, Stephen, that sounds like this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was on the news last night.
Yeah.
They had to reschedule it. I think it's for. I didn't get to hear the exact reason that was given, but I think it has to do with making sure that it is coordinated correctly and properly. You don't want to just slap together something.
So why did they make that date?
I'm not a government official. I couldn't answer that question directly. I don't.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it's going to happen.
Wow. That's very interesting. Thanks for raising that. I totally forgot about that. That was supposed to be this weekend, yeah. Today and tomorrow. Huh. Okay, thank you very much, caller. Appreciate that. Wow. Yeah, Stephen, that doesn't sound good.
They said it's happening on the 6th and the 7th.
Oh, yeah?
So, well, once again, we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, all right. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. How are you?
Doing well.
I'm to the Bahamas. Dwight, I'm not quite comfortable. I'm normally, happy to hear your guest engage the country, but I'm not happy with his conversation this morning. He seems to be a little off this morning because isn't the church the one place we should be shutting everything down in the country to run to? I mean, shouldn't the government right now at this time, the time we need prayer the most, this is the one place that we should be shutting the country down to go to and saying go to church or go on the beaches and, face the east, face the west, whatever, and pray. I mean, because we are the
What's stopping you from praying? What's stopping you from praying?
And those are two very different things that you just said. Inside a building and on the beach where you can separate, that's very different, especially with what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a very contagious disease here.
What's stopping you from praying?
No, but the point is we're not doing nothing stops me from praying because I pray every day. And I pray as often as I need to. But my point is,
why are you getting upset, sir?
Let him finish. We're running out of time.
My point is, we are talking about the church. See, our problem is we have fallen from a great height as Bahamians. I remember when Bahamians used to be number one because they had the true and living God as their God, and they served that God. But now we have traded that God in for the God of money. You understand? God says you cannot serve God and mammon, which is money. God put money on a higher power.
That's not what's happening here. People, if you could get yourself sick and die, that we're trying to save lives.
I understand.
He's talking about the 70s.
I understand.
Okay, we got to go to the news. Hopefully, you may be able to call us back after the news. We're going to break and then come back. This is Morning Blend. Stay with us.
The Consultant Physician Staff Association president is among those who had hoped the Prime Minister would have implemented tighter restrictions on movement to help slow spiking COVID transmissions. Dr. Sabrika Pindle-Butler told the Nassau Guardian it would have been wise to have some additional restrictions, especially heading into a holiday weekend.
Potentially looking at adjusting curfew, especially during the holiday time, potentially. Those types of measures. Not necessarily a full lockdown, because at one point, we've moved away from the full lockdown, but at least look at certain things that would help us, curb the movement of people so much that could potentially further increase the chances of a surge. Because, see, this is the deal. What we're dealing with now, today, means that there's going to be an automatic increase probably in the next 1 or 2 weeks. That means it's going to be even worse. Sometimes I think the government then has to step in and make hard decisions that may not be favored by all.
She did not support a return to a full lockdown, but did say that some restrictions to social gatherings would have helped. She questioned whether the policy of imploring Bahamians to do the right thing would be enough.
But maybe even if it meant certain hours, at the beach, certain hours at the beach, not a full closure for the whole weekend. If it is that we're going to have more of the COVID ambassadors policing the beaches, then that perhaps may help. And the continued advice to, our people to try to limit who you're engaging with, even if you go on the beach and that sort of thing, that would be helpful. But we continue to see, unfortunately, the social media clips that doesn't happen. We always see something where there's a beach full and no one wearing masks, everybody's having a party, that sort of thing. So I don't know if we've reached the level where we're able to fully police ourselves. And so sometimes when we're not able to fully police ourselves, especially now that our healthcare system I think if our healthcare system wasn't beyond capacity, then we would have room to say, okay, let's see how this works out. But we are beyond capacity.
There have now been more than 1,800 new COVID-19 infections recorded just this month, including another 12 in Exuma and 7 on Abaco Wednesday. Also disturbing, the number of persons admitted to hospital for treatment of COVID has jumped to 106. 32 of them are in Grand Bahama. With many of the beds at the Rand Memorial Hospital also now filled, the administrator there is pleading with Bahamians to comply with health measures. Jillian Gray has that.
In the most critical areas at the Rand Memorial Hospital, bed space is over capacity.
Our ward that deals with our critical patients are full, and that is our ICU, our ward at CAB, at the Cancer Society, and our med-surg ward. They are all full to capacity, with patients waiting in our emergency room for bed space.
Hectic for clinicians and stressful for patients is how hospital administrator Sharon Williams described the dire state Grand Bahama Health Services is in. The hospital is inundated with patients, and they are now urging non-critical patients to seek treatment at one of the clinics on the island. 32 people are in hospital on the island ailing with COVID-19, and while they've been using their internal contingencies to manage, they're not sure how much longer that can continue.
We can see that over the past few weeks there have been a steady increase. And if this increase continues, of course, then the government will have to look at additional assistance for Grand Bahama from any NGO or Samaritan Purse, if that is the way the government is going at the moment.
It's not just beds in short supply, but they often have to call in persons who are off and coordinate to ensure those who come to work are deployed in the most critical areas. 17 nurses on Grand Bahama called in sick on Wednesday, which greatly set the hospital back. At minimum, 15 nurses are needed to maintain the day-to-day operations.
We are doing as much as we can in Grand Bahama Health Services to make sure that our patients our patients' need for care attended to as soon as possible. Yes, we do have some concerns with nursing shortages and, of course, with other clinical discipline shortages in those areas as well. But we always continue to make sure that the necessary staffing to give optimal care are addressed.
Williams is hoping that the public listens to health professionals' plea for adherence to safety measures, as the brunt of the burden of the pandemic is on the shoulders of healthcare workers. Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, Police Commissioner Paul Roll has cautioned that his officers will be on the lookout for violators of COVID restrictions this holiday. But he was less vocal on how the force planned to police that 1-hour timeline for church services. Berthany McDermott has that.
We're going to be policing the emergency powers. I'm not going to be focusing on any one group. And like I just said a minute ago, I encourage patients to abide by the provisions of the emergency power orders.
The health minister's announcement last week that church services are now limited to 1 hour was met with frustration by many. Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernando told the Nassau Guardian this week the state cannot dictate to the church, adding the church plan to engage with government to have the 1 hour limit removed. To date, no changes have been made. Roll, who was also a pastor at Golden Gates Assembly, refused to provide details on how it will be enforced.
I'm not going to go into that discussion with the church and the pastors. I said already what we're going to do. Let's leave that at that.
New restrictions were prompted by an alarming surge in COVID-19 cases. Hospitalizations and deaths are also up. As the holiday weekend approaches, officers are on high alert.
I just signed the operation order for the holiday this morning, and we'll be continuing our efforts and stepping it up as usual on these holidays.
Roll cautioned residents to follow emergency orders.
And I still ask persons, to abide by these provisions. Those bars are prohibited, and if we find them, we'll be taking action.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Berthany McDermott.
We understand an investigation is underway into how a boat carrying cargo infected with invasive beetles was allowed to offload in Grand Bahama. Bahamas National Trust Executive Director Eric Carey says he heard the news that a cargo ship was turned away in New Orleans when sharp-eyed inspectors noticed the wood was infected with a type of Asian beetle known for feeding on wood.
It appears that the vessel did not declare honestly what it had on board and indicated that there was no danger associated with the cargo, and it was inadvertently cleared.
Carey says the cargo is now in the possession of the sanitation services in Grand Bahama and has been sprayed with insecticide to prevent the beetles escaping into the national habitat. He says he's not sure of the species of beetle on that wood, but that another type of bark beetle is already attacking wood on Abaco.
It's very scary that something like this could happen because of the fact that this beetle could be very destructive to an already obviously very distressed pine forest system that is still struggling to figure out how it's going to recover from the devastating effects of Hurricane Dorian.
Carey says this is why import control is so important. Stay with us. There's more news after the break.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
Everything is changing, and your favorite hardware and home improvement store is getting with the program. We Buy You Sell is rolling out its new online shopping feature. If you go to our website, wbusbahamas.com, it's a quick and easy 3-step process. Step 1, browse the gallery and select your item. Step 2, add to cart. And step 3, check out. Go to our website, wbusbahamas.com, to shop with us today.
At Master Technicians, we have what your family traditions need, starting with industry-best refrigerators, ranges, and ovens. We also carry Whirlpool washer and dryers, dishwashers and freezers, leading KitchenAid countertop appliances, blenders, microwaves, juicers, kettles, and KitchenAid stand mixers. We even do free delivery in New Providence or to the boat of your choice. Whether you're doing the laundry, creating new memories in the kitchen, or spending family time in front of the television, Master Technicians Limited, keeping family traditions alive for more than 50 years.
Summer is here, and Shell presents a summer of fun. Win $30,000 in prizes when you spend $20 in fuel at any Shell location, now through September 10th. Experience incredible hotel stays in the Family Islands and Nassau. Win thousands of dollars in fuel, groceries, and electronic devices. Fuel up today and submit your receipts by WhatsApp, email, and Facebook. Follow us on Facebook for more chances to win with Shell. Terms and conditions apply.
Hot summer days require cool specials. Find them today at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets. Rainbow Spaghetti and Meatballs, 14.8-ounce can, 99 cents. Bumblebee Tuna in water, 5-ounce size, $1. Robin Hood flour, 5.5 pound bag, $3.99. Boneless chicken breast, $2.29 per pound. Sweet mangoes, 2 for $3. Working hard every day to keep your prices down. That's super value and quality supermarkets.
Clem the Gem buzz up to Sun Isles that day and get all frustrated up because they done closed. But he press his nose up on that glass door and clasp his hands to get in the position of contrition, and then he catch Miss Wallace's eye. She say, hey, that's Clem the Gem. Dory say, yeah, that's him, and he know he done closed. Miss Wallace say, but that's Clem the Gem. Let him in. He tell Miss Wallace, I come to get him a battery exchange. She say, well, I may as well lubricate your 21 jewels too. He say, Shunda! She say, I didn't know you was a church man. He say, some things you just make your heart shout.
Sun Isles, number 112 Montrose Avenue. Watch and clock sales and repairs for over 40 years.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming to stay connected while overseas.
For just $50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or btcbahamas.com. Conditions apply.
Welcome back. The police force now has 20 new vehicles thanks to the United States government. Police Commissioner Paul Roll says some will be sent to Abaco and Grand Bahama to replace cars which were destroyed during Hurricane Dorian.
It's going to be New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Abaco. We still have some more in the back. Those in the back are not completed as yet. But as early as next week, I'll have to identify those areas that we're going to be putting them to. And you'll start seeing them going out to the islands by next week.
U.S. Chargé d'Affaires Yusha Pitt said it was another example of the successful partnership between the two nations.
You know, no matter what happens in the world, the Bahamas and the United States are always staunch allies. And today, what we're celebrating just one part of that partnership that's been going on for decades. So it's really a terrific example of our partnership.
That's going to do it for local news. Stay with us. AP News is next.
Continuing with our class acts, Pentotal now stocks the amazingly beautiful line of Amerisinks. Amerisinks are different, and that's probably the easiest way to describe them. They're not your average round, oval, white, boring sink. Obviously, the designers of Amerisinks view their products as more than just a tub in which to spit toothpaste. Amerisinks are classy, unique in design and construction. Let me take, for example, this circular vessel sink with stepped pattern. It reminds one of an amphitheater. Well, that's kind of stretching it, but the design is different. If you're looking for Amerisinks, look to Pentotal on Prince Charles Drive.
When does a simple meal become exceptional? You guessed it, when it's made the fresh market way. We're talking exquisite cuts of fresh meat, succulent fresh seafood options, the best in fresh produce, and who can forget our exotic spices and herbs? Come on, get ready to shake up your taste buds and let our aisles inspire your inner food genius. Homemade salted caramel ice cream, egg noodle stir fry, time to walk and roll. Slow smoked beef ribs, oh baby! Remember, go fresh and craft delicious with Fresh Market.
How the exercise going? Not too good. What happened? Well, you know Mr. Junior make me one treadmill. Make? You know how he like tinker. Anyhow, he built this treadmill and he hook it up to one of them clothesline, which you could spin. You know the kind what I mean? You mean the one would look like the upside down umbrella? That's the one. He figure that since I was working out, I just power up one of them clothesline, so he hook it up direct to the treadmill. Oh, so whilst you walking, clothes spinning. Makes sense to me. Makes sense to you, eh? You know how heavy wet clothes is? But anyhow, I right there struggling to get the treadmill going. Slow. She start to go now. The treadmill going and the clothes spinning. This time now I building up speed. I running now. I running, the clothes spinning fast now. You're flying now? Yes, and so was the clothes. You would have thought he had enough sense to screw the thing down, eh? The clothes going? I see where they lying yet. So what you gonna do? Go back to Superwash where I should have gone in the first beginning. Superwash, they washes and presses and cleans you 24/7.
Give me my pizza right away. Gotta move quick, no time to wait. No long lines inside the place. Little Caesars, I love the taste. Hot and ready. Just come now, you don't have to call, now you don't have to wait. Hot and ready. Large pepperoni, $7.99 every day. Hot and ready. Oh, yeah. Straight out the oven and freshly made. Hot and ready. Little Caesars is hot and ready. Little Caesars is. Get yours now at Oaksfield, Carmichael Road, and now East Street South, Pineapple Plaza. Pizza.
At Apex Award Signs and Engraving, the name says it all. The country's trusted name for trophies, plaques, corporate seals, rubber stamps, badges, bumper stickers, traffic and street signs, keychains, t-shirts, interior signs, restaurant menus, and so much more. Apex Award Signs and Engraving, number 128 Mount Royal Avenue in Wilton Street. Open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and 9 to 1 on Saturdays. Visit the website at apexawardsbahamas.com. Apex Award Signs and Engraving, number 1 in the Bahamas.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Fast, reliable, and resilient, undeniably the best. The Cable Bahamas group of companies. We keep our customers informed and connected, especially in times of crisis. We believe in Bahamians. They build, own, and manage our world-class network. We invest in our people and our network to guarantee superior technology, superior service. We care about our employees, customers, and country. That's who we are. Thank you for letting our family keep you connected to yours.
This traffic report is brought to you by Shield Insurance and Prudential Loss Adjusters.
Second look at traffic now, and the morning commute is quite evident coming out of the southwest area.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796. And now at 8:19, it's time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. Here's what's happening. We've got high pressure coupled with Saharan dust. That's going to dominate weather across the country as we head into the weekend. Boaters should be alert for waterspout activity, and beachgoers in the southeast Bahamas should be on alert for rip currents at East Coast beaches. And everybody needs to remain hydrated and limit outdoor activities due to high heat indices expected to soar into the triple digits today. For all areas, we're looking at mostly sunny, hot, and hazy conditions with a few isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms mainly offshore. Expect breezy conditions in the southeast Bahamas today, mostly fair and warm tonight. Small craft caution in effect for boaters in the southeast Bahamas, and small craft operators should be alert for gusty winds and higher seas in or near heavy showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures today getting up to 92 Fahrenheit, 33 Celsius, but the heat index, the thing we need to be watching, it's going to feel like 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 Celsius today. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. In your extended outlook for the holiday weekend, high pressure will remain the dominant weather feature throughout the weekend. So for Saturday, partly mostly sunny and hot with a few isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms. Sunday, partly sunny and hot with a few showers and the chance of isolated thunderstorms. Expect breezy conditions in the central and southeast Bahamas today. For Sunday, you're before your Emancipation Day holiday on Monday. In the tropics are quiet. Tropical cyclone formation not expected during the next 5 days. That's your morning blend weather check brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. What's first for you comes first for us. And at 8:21, time for another check of your traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. In your real-time traffic, Milo Butler Highway, as usual, the hot spot, heavy traffic in the northbound lanes this morning, but well north of Fire Trail. Just as you get closer to Harold Pond, you'll be noticing that. And the closer you get to Tawny Williams-Darling Highway, you will be seeing it get heavier and slow down much more. Glaston Road looking a little bit better for you, but still heavy northbound to JFK Drive. Blue Hill Road busy north of Soldier Road, the northbound lanes there, heading towards the Independence Drive roundabout. And further south on Blue Hill Road, northbound between St. Vincent Road and just north of Carmichael, you'll be seeing building traffic there in the northbound lanes. Elsewhere, pockets along Carmichael Road westbound toward Coral Harbor Road and at some of the major intersections like Robinson and East Street and Prince Charles Drive and Fox Hill Road. And pockets of some of the other major intersections on the island. But so far, not so bad for you on your commute today. That's your real-time traffic and your morning bed traffic alert brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined.
Bad little lady, you should be driving me crazy when she licking her lips and moving them hips like come here, baby. I wanna take her down now. She wanna hit the town now, and she all dressed up, drip on blood, bottom of her boots on blood. She did bring them lips and give me kiss. Then we pull up in a whip. Yeah, dip we dip, she dip, skirt skirt, copping feels with one man on the wheel. She's working and working her bone. Grab a cup, fill it up, drink it down. Grab your berry, wind that waist to the ground. You already know the move from the sound of Junkanoo. She got that Junkanoo. She got that Junkanoo. She got that Junkanoo. She got that Junkanoo. She got that
And we are back here with Morning Blend on this Friday morning. Dwight Strachan along with Stephen Hanna. We are very happy to be joined right now by Dr. D. Archer, who's the host of The Doctor Is In here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dr. Archer, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Dwight, and good morning to everybody. I'm glad to be here and back on air.
Hey, you've been off, for those who don't know, and congratulations, you've been on maternity leave. Very happy for you. And you're making your grand return to your show after your maternity break this Tuesday.
Yeah, Dwight, I'm very excited to bring back The Doctor Is In. A lot of people have been asking, or thinking that we weren't coming back, but I assured them that we would be doing more shows. It's been a very interesting journey, almost over 2 years of kind of combining health education as well as societal topics, that are at a very high level, but everybody can listen to, enjoy, and understand and get the premise of what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about the show in a bit, but we'd love to get your views on what we've been seeing over the past 4 months that you've been on your break. But numbers were increasing at the start of the year, but every month has been higher than the month before, and now we are at using that word crisis again, and all of the hospitals are saying they're over capacity, and it's just, some are saying the worst we've seen since the pandemic began in the country. Let's get your views as a medical doctor on what we're seeing and how we are doing in the fight against COVID.
Well, Dwight, we're all kind of really tired. We were hoping that this would be over by now. This has been a really sad journey for a lot of people. There have been deaths. And so COVID has really kind of hit us hard in different ways. I think it has a lot to do with planning, organization, and your policy and how you put that together. Because, of course, COVID is something new, is something novel. We had to do some things that we would have normally have not done. What I would have liked to have seen is that we would have been a bit more prepared in terms of making our medical system a bit stronger. Working for both the public and the private system, I've seen it all. And I know that we really had a lot of infrastructural problems that we haven't been dealing with for a very long time. And COVID really highlighted some of the problems that we were having. And so I think this kind of third wave that's coming on shows that we haven't made the kind of progress that we would have needed, especially going through last year with the lockdowns. That was a great opportunity to kind of improve our infrastructure, put the policies in place, and be kind of prepared more so than we have before. If you look at the countries that have done pretty well with COVID, they're really, really organized. They're really, really structured. Things roll out very quickly. People have information very quickly. So there's not a lot of back and forth and confusion. Also broadening, I guess, who has some say about policy, because, I think the wider medical community could have been used a lot more. Policies of people coming in without tests, even if they're vaccinated. As we see data coming in now, we know that vaccinated persons can also transmit and catch COVID. So it's not you're not completely eliminating the risks. And so we are a tourist destination. Most countries are doing some form of testing. I think some of these problems we could have seen ahead of time and be a little bit better prepared.
Well, what do you make of how we've been handling the vaccine issue and the vaccine hesitancy that we're seeing in the country? And what are your views on this and how we've handled that?
Oh boy, I hope I don't get in trouble with this.
Uh-oh.
I think vaccine, the word hesitancy is probably not the right word, because and language is extremely important to me. I was just having a conversation about this online about language. Hesitancy, the word implies that everybody is going to take the vaccine and at some point. And I think that's why there's all this conversation about mandatory, not mandatory. I truly believe in the rights of a patient and people deciding what to do with their bodies and their medical decisions. And so if the government feels that or our leaders feel like it's appropriate for everyone to try to get vaccinated, yes, they should be out there, educate the public, do everything they can to convince people pretty much, or let people know the information on both sides. I think you have to understand the culture as well as Bahamians whenever you're dealing with something as delicate as this. And people want to be more informed today. They want to know the pros, the cons, and be able to make a logical and sensible decision for themselves. A study done in France put the two top reasons that people were so-called hesitant was that they felt like the vaccine needed more time to be tested, and they were not sure about whether they were comfortable with some of the side effects. So these are very rational reasons why people would be, and of course, there's always some weird and wonderful things as well, but that's just life. Not all people are going to think the same way. Not all people are going to be comfortable with, taking on certain things, whether it be medicine, whether it be advice. And so I think it's very important to have a positive attitude, to provide the information for Bahamians. And I think Bahamians are very smart, and I think they will make the right decisions for their personal health. And as physicians, we have to also be a part of that education and letting people know, pros and cons. I mean, there's nothing wrong with telling people. I tell people all the time about medications that they take. There's a possibility of side effects. This is it. But does the risk outweigh the benefits, or the benefits outweigh the risk? And I think that's the type of conversation that we need to be having out there in the community with people. And also there's a lot of information coming out about vaccines, the efficacy, and that should be a broader discussion on top of it to really design what is best for our nation and our country. Not just taking a global view per se, but really making it an intimate decision for each and every person.
Well, we've got government officials and medical officials saying that this is the only way we're going to get out of this if everybody's vaccinated, if a majority of the people are vaccinated. You don't think that is the right way to approach this?
I think we have to look at data and information. There's information coming from different places. And we're seeing rises in cases in places that are vaccinated as well. I think what we need to shift our view to is maybe not just cases, but deaths. So what can we do to limit deaths, because that is really the major issue. The majority of people are not going to die from COVID. We don't want anyone to die. And so I think we need to stratify by risk factors. We need to focus on the people who are going to be most at risk. We need to try our best to save those lives. We need to look at alternative interventions. I think just being focused on one thing that we are studying and looking at as this process goes by, it is a limited view, and we could broaden that in order to help more people. That's what I'm saying. I don't have an issue with the government and the vaccine and getting people to take the vaccine, but I think we need to just broaden our outlook on it, and I think we'll have more positive results. And that's what we want at the end of the day.
When you say alternate interventions, what do you mean exactly?
Well, there are lots of different studies on, pre-treatments, early treatment for COVID, just things that we can do otherwise to save lives. Because once you're there in the hospital with COVID, that a vaccine won't really play a role there. So I just think that we need to broaden our outlook on how we're dealing with the pandemic and just have more of a broader strategic plan on how to deal with it. And that includes improving our infrastructure. And so we improve our infrastructure because our biggest thing is the load, but we've also always had a problem with load at the hospital. Mm-hmm. And so this is not something new, but it's obviously a lot worse because many countries that are vaccinated are still dealing with elevated numbers. And so I'm just saying we have to look also into the future, third wave, fourth wave, whatever it may be, and be prepared for that.
Just this morning, and we've been hearing this over many, many weeks, people messaging and saying, why aren't we hearing more from officials about bush medicine, about boosting your immunity, and these ways of fighting getting sick at all? What do you say to that? And do we need to have more said on that?
Well, I think this would have been a perfect time for some study on some of the bush medicines that we use here. Even as a medically trained doctor, a lot of our medical breakthroughs have come from natural products. So in my practice, I always kind of look at what's out there, what we can do traditionally. And I try to educate patients too, because not all bush medicine is good for you. But, why can't we do our own studies? Why can't we look into our own ways of doing things? And we might have come up with a breakthrough. I don't think at this time anybody would say, go and take this and this will keep you from COVID. But definitely building your immune system, becoming healthy, preventative health measures are going to be extremely important when you look at the risk factors for COVID. So a lot of people that are dying are older persons, usually over the age of 70. They have 3 or more comorbidities. So, obesity is one of those, hypertension. Then you have some of our diabetics in there. And so those are also things. So with my patients, I have made sure that most of them have tried to optimize their comorbidities. I do a lot of weight loss programs with my patients as well, because I see how important that is, and even more so now. So that is something I think that we should focus on. And we should have a national kind of program or PSA really emphasizing those things, because if we can save even just 1, 2, 3, 10, or 100 people from being in that at-risk category, we would have less people that would fall into the critical criteria for COVID and end up in hospital. There are always going to be some outliers, but we know for sure that these are the things that put people at risk for being in that critical category for COVID. So this is the type of thinking that I think that we need to have, because we do have some information. It's not completely novel anymore. And so we have to kind of broaden our strategy and start creating things that everyday Bahamians can do, can buy into, and having that level of conversation with our people. I think people will be more inclined to listen to what your recommendations are.
But I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you or anybody else who suggested this. But I mean, we've been beating this drum forever. And of course, the focus has shifted since the pandemic. But we were talking about this all the time. Besides children, who doesn't know about this?
I don't think it's about who doesn't know about it. I think it's about people really understanding how it impacts their lives. And that's what usually causes change. So this was a really good opportunity to kind of drone that in, because most people will see things, information every day until it impacts their life, their way of life. They're usually not listening or taking it in. There's a theory that it takes seven levels for something to really kind of sink into your brain. So constantly droning in, let's say seatbelt laws. When we wanted people to wear seatbelts, there were PSAs, there were things out there. We really kind of put it, well, that became somewhat of a law, but just the impact of people wearing those seatbelts, they really went all out, showing people crashing. There's they have PSAs with commercials with people texting because they don't want you texting and stuff. So I think it's a constant thing. I'm just saying we had the whole country's basically was kind of like focused on this. It was a great time for a primary care or preventative care strategy to go out there, just to build that in the community. I'm not saying this is just for now. I'm thinking even in the future, if anything else was to come about. We always talk about how unhealthy our nation is. And I think that was the greatest part of the fear with COVID, knowing those risk factors, was where we were as people.
Yeah. Stephen, you sounded like you wanted to say something.
Oh, no. I mean, I don't, this may be one of the few times that I feel like this is a personal responsibility situation at this point. Like, I get that some persons may feel like there could have been more done in terms of PSAs, but like, I know for a fact, from when Dr. Sands was in charge of the Ministry of Health, he was complaining about, before COVID, he was like, hey guys, y'all should eat beans instead of corned beef because of what we would now term comorbidities and stuff. There were ample attempts and campaigns and PSAs and all these different things before COVID, particularly when COVID started, and during the entire run of this disease, we've had persons saying, hey, if you are overweight, that puts you inside a risk factor, right? And so what we're at now is we passed the 7 times somebody needs to hear something. Persons are comfortable, they're comfortable where they're at, and they want to hear somebody say, the thing that you're doing is enough, right? And unfortunately, that isn't where we're at. The thing that you're doing is not enough. It's not just enough to take bush medicine. You also need to follow these guidelines because we know that this is going to help. The vaccine is relatively new, but at the same time, there's some data to prove that it is going to help prevent you from dying or from being hospitalized. You should probably take the vaccine. Like I think we passed the point where we could just be like, if we talk to them a couple more times, it'd be fine. We could talk to them a couple more times, but some of the people are not going to survive long enough
They are doing that, Stephen. They're out there telling people to take the vaccine. I'm saying to you that at the end of the day, it's going to be a personal choice for people. And so we still have to concentrate on these other avenues, whether we realize it or not. And I think what we need is a kind of a cultural shift when we talk about health in this country. And it's not a 1 day or 2 day plan. It's going to be over time for sure. And it may not save us for COVID, this initial period, but it's a conversation that we need to have.
Honestly, the only thing I think that will change some person's minds is if they see people crying next to the bed of their loved ones, or if they see somebody who they love and they know dying from it. Because I literally, as recent as a week or 2 ago, I went to the food store and the security guard was asking everybody for the receipts, and the lady is like, how y'all gonna prevent COVID if you touching his receipt, then you touching my receipt, you just passing along germs? And his response was, miss, you know anybody who died from COVID? Oh. As though to say, it's not a real thing, all right? And so, honestly, we are at the point where, because there's so much information and dissenting information, and you could find anything to back up how you feel about something personally, that some person's minds will only be changed when they see death in front of them. And that's just where we're at.
Well, some people's minds are never going to be changed.
And some people's minds will never be changed.
I think that we have to have a real conversation. Some people's minds are never going to be changed. Some people will never take the vaccine. Some people, that's the reality of life. I'm saying from a strategic point of view, I think the government is out there talking about the vaccine. That's what they want people to do. But I'm saying to you that we can't forget some of the other things that are going on, and we will have to deal with those people regardless. If you don't take your diabetes medication, they don't come to the hospital if you're sick. We're going to have to deal with all of this. And so just broadening that approach, I think getting more of the physicians on the ground involved, kind of seeing things from their point of view, understanding our culture, I think that you have a better relationship with the people that you're talking to. That's all I'm saying, Stephen, that we can do it a little bit better, I think. I think that we should look at other stuff. I think we need to come to the point in our country where we're doing our own analysis and our own research so that we can better understand what's happening here. With COVID here in the Bahamas, a lot of our information comes from what's happening from the rest of the world. And I think that would also be helpful to the medical community too, as we speak to patients and have a better understanding of what's specifically happening here in the Bahamas. But, COVID is something, this is the first time we've dealt with something like this before, being a novel virus, and we're seeing the changes, we're seeing variants coming in, and this is the process that a virus goes through. And so we have to start thinking a little bit more out of the box. We have to start thinking about the future and what that might be, and, best and worst case scenarios. That's what we really have to start planning for as we're kind of in this pandemic. It hasn't gone away like we've thought it would.
Right. I want you to respond to this tweet here. This is from one of our loyal listeners who's actively engaging us all the time. But he tweeted us this morning, why would a healthy middle-aged man now rush to get an experimental vaccine for a virus where more than 75% show no symptoms, 99.4% recover, and those with severe symptoms or died had 2 or more comorbidities? Help me understand the rationale. We hear that a lot. Everybody hears that a lot. People are saying that. What do you say to somebody who is thinking like that and just doesn't understand why this vaccine should apply to him?
Well, I'm not sure you like my answer here, Dwight, but what he's saying is pretty much true. As I talked about, there are risk factors and groups that are more prone to having an issue with COVID. If you talk about the point of the vaccination, which is to decrease hospitalization, which we're talking about moderate to critical cases, a young person is not going to fall into that group. So they will question why should they get vaccinated. And that has to be a risk assessment that they make. And this is why I say it is kind of a personal reason. And I think you even see it in the way that the vaccine was rolled out. We went for that elderly population. We went for the older persons who would be in that, category where if they were to get COVID, the chance of death is 15 to 25%. That is a serious risk. Now, you're talking to a 20-year-old whose risk is maybe less than 1%. It's a difficult sell. And we have to determine, do we need to have everybody vaccinated? Or what is our threshold? What is our goal for this country? And I think that's where a lot of people are also kind of confused, because what is it that we're trying to achieve at the end of the day? If you're saying that you want to also look at the fact that maybe the vaccine does decrease transmission, we're seeing that in places like Israel, the efficacy has gone down as different variants have come in. So this is the type of continuous dialogue that we need to be having on what we're doing, what we're trying to achieve as a nation, and what does that mean to an individual, because people are going to rationalize these types of things. And so where's that conversation between those persons? I don't think we should ignore them, but we should go straight to them and kind of have that dialogue and decide if that is a part of our plan. Is that a necessary part of our plan? Are we going to be more focused in who we are targeting? Because you're not going to have everybody who decides that the risks or the benefits are greater. And so I find nothing wrong with people having those thoughts or those discussions. It means that they have personally looked at their situation and decided for themselves. I think, so what is our goal at the end of the day?
Right. Okay, so I mean, but it shouldn't part of it, because you talk about we should be looking at these things, I don't want to say holistically, but we should be looking at these things not by itself. Look at the entirety of the situation. A lot of persons who think that they are healthy are not healthy. All right?
And this is why, Stephan, we need that public education program. You should have, by this time, sat down with your doctor, discuss what your risk profile is. Where do you fit in all of this? What do you need to improve into your life? And make that decision. That's where I talk about the individual decision, not just so as just an uneducated decision. But if you haven't reflected at this point on where you are in terms of your health, then, it's going to be difficult to get to that person regardless. Because
you know how hard it is to get some men to go to the doctor for anything. And only time they go to the doctor is when our penis stop working, then we go to the doctor. All right? And so it's like, I mean, there's that, all right? But there's also, isn't a part of the reason that the vaccine is being pushed was because it reduces the rate of transmission. All right, at least with the original version of the disease.
The original, if you actually look at the studies and what was originally said by the pharmaceutical companies, the vaccines were designed and they said that they would decrease hospitalization. So if you were to look purely on that is a very specific thing. Now, if you're talking about lessening transmission, there was a lot of, talk about lessening transmission. That is something that we will see over time, because as you go along, you're seeing, you will see whether that is happening. So if a study is done, and this is the intricate nature of these things, if a study is done and a month later, none of the patients have COVID, you can say that 100% of those patients do not transmit COVID. But over time, what you will see how that really plays out. And this is where the time part comes in. And I think we need to be really watching the details of everything that's coming out, the studies, the information, and kind of making that analysis. Our best hope is that the vaccine would decrease transmission between persons. We're seeing different data come out about that. And so we need to watch that as our own community. Hence, when you have a policy where people are coming in and they're vaccinated and you're not actually testing them, are you putting your population at a greater risk? Because if you had taken that transmission scenario as gospel, per se, then you would make a decision like that. But if you were watching and waiting, like most countries who, no matter how high the vaccination rate is in their country, have still been screening people, you would take a different approach. And this is where this becomes extremely important.
All right, we need to take a break. We've got a lot of text messages, a lot of calls coming in. People are reacting strongly to what you're saying, Dr. D. We're talking with Dr. Denotra Archer-Cartwright, and we'll talk more about the doctors in coming up after the break as well. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio. Stay with us.
Grab a cup, fill it up, drink it down. Grab your berry, wine and waste to
Travel less, but vacation more by indulging yourself and your family with the ultimate staycation getaway at Atlantis. Sleep in, relax, play, go out. Say yes to a fantastic staycation in your very own paradise just over the bridge. For reservations, call 363-6483 or visit Atlantis Local on Facebook for details.
Turn the keys to your own home with CIBC First Caribbean. We'll give you time to relax when you move in by waiving your first 3 monthly mortgage payments and commitment fees. Get up to 95% financing on your mortgage and a pre-approved Visa Gold or Platinum credit card with 5,000 bonus reward points and more. Visit CIBCFCIB.com/realtors-hub to connect with a realtor to make the home search easier. Finance your new home base with CIBC First Caribbean. Terms and conditions apply. Visit CIBCFCIB.com fcib.com for details.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming to stay connected while overseas.
For just $50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or btcbahamas.com. Conditions apply.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
Be prepared for the rainy season with an RBC loan to fund your rainy season essentials. For hurricane shutters, generators, solar power systems, or general home repair, RBC offers a range of flexible and competitive financing solutions. Let us help you get started at rbc.com/Caribbean/get-a-loan. Special conditions apply. Reimagine your rainy season readiness with RBC financing.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
There's only one way to have a better morning. How? Start your mornings the best way with our 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches at Wendy's. For a limited time, choose any 2 of your favorite breakfast sandwiches, including the fresh Strachan sack muffin, honey buttermilk chicken biscuit, double sausage muffin, or the sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. Wash it all down with our cold brew shake or coffee. Better mornings always start at Wendy's. Wendy's, different inside and out. Excludes airport locations.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strong with Stephen Hanna. We are talking with Dr. D. Archer, the host of The Doctor's In here on Guardian Radio 96.9. And Dr. D, we're getting some strong reaction to what you're saying this morning, as you knew we would. So listen to these contrasting messages.
I'm sure there's a lot, and that's the great thing about science, right? We're seeking truth, so we should hear all sides, and then we make a decision or we do study to confirm those things.
Absolutely. 2 I want you to listen to. This one says, finally, someone with sense on your show. Kudos to your guest for speaking truth and not just promoting a falsehood. She is on point. I am healthy according to my annual physicals, I guess, and so therefore I do not wish to experiment with the vaccine. Oh boy. All right, and then this other view, though, someone says she's very good, but who is she running for? She is clearly designed, this is very clearly designed to discredit the public health process for dealing with COVID-19.
Wow. Definitely not. It's not to discredit them at all. I think they're working extremely hard. I think they need more help. I think they should broaden who is helping, and not at all, because I work with the government actually, and I know how intensely hard individuals are working. I just think that this is a lot. This is really, really big, and it's time that they might need to widen the deck and get more people on board to help, people with different points of views, people who are going to suggest maybe some different things and try some different things. Definitely not at all. Our public health workers are working extremely hard. Our medical doctors and nurses are working extremely hard day in and day out. I was in the clinics when I was pregnant, and so people were coming in with COVID. COVID is not, I'm not saying COVID is not real or anything like that. It is a serious thing. And we really need to be thinking about the steps that we take every day and in the future. So I hope no one really thinks that. And obviously, Dwight, I'm not running for anybody. I am quite apolitical. I talk about politics. I love to talk about politics because I think as good citizens, we should all be involved in whatever's going on in our country so we can make good decisions. But I am not politically connected in any which way.
All right. So somebody's asking here, what do you say to pregnant women as a family physician? What do you say to pregnant women about the vaccine? What should they be considering? Should they get this?
Well, all the data isn't out. Initially, they were holding it off from pregnant women. I think they are right now in the process of really looking at the effects on pregnancy, the babies, and so what's coming out. So that's data that we're looking at right now. I think there's a little bit of a caution with pregnant women. Some people are suggesting that they do it, but this is stuff that's being currently studied. I will put it like that. And that's where this kind of risk assessment comes from. It's something that's currently being studied. So there are women who are taking it. There are women who are part of trials. And there are some pregnant women who are not taking it. When I was pregnant, at that time, they were advising not to. And so I haven't really seen any clear information about that as yet, as whether we're leaning more towards, it's completely safe or not, because a lot more studies are in the works.
You don't have to answer, but I have to ask. So have you been vaccinated, or are you going to be? What are you going to do?
Well, I think that's a personal choice. I don't think we should get in the habit of asking people their status. I think that we all have to do what's right for us and our family. And we have to get the most information to make the right decision. And for some people, that means that you are going to be better protected. And for some people, that might be a different decision for various reasons. I don't think we should get into ostracizing or putting people into these blocks, because that becomes a discriminatory type of thing. And as healthcare providers, even with, we've gone through this with HIV and all different stuff of not discriminating with people despite what it is, but taking the proper precautions is going to be important until we get out of this pandemic. And so I'm a really, really strong believer in, hygiene, hand washing, all of those things. And if I have to wear a mask a bit longer, I am willing to do that to protect others.
But you
myself.
You said it, ostracizing. We are clearly heading that direction where there's going to be a world for the vaccinated and a world for the unvaccinated. What will the unvaccinated do in this environment?
Well, I think that's going to fall away, actually. So I'm pretty good at predicting these things, and I know where it seems to be going. But I think as we start getting more information, like the information that we're getting out of Israel, about efficacy and long-term use and variants, because you do hear talk about boosters and whether this will be seasonal and stuff like that. I think when we've all kind of sat down and looked at this rationally, we're going to start having more logical conversations about this.
Okay.
I just want to say something from the CDC, where they do talk about the authorization and the effectiveness of causing of the vaccines with the outcomes of severe disease, hospitalization, and death. So that's very kind of targeted in there. It does also talk about on the CDC website about effectiveness against hospitalization and death for various strains, but also talk about this lower effectiveness against confirmed infections or symptomatic disease. The CDC also goes on to talk about the different bodies of evidence and how there is still breakthrough infection in fully vaccinated people. So there's not a complete elimination from the community, and that the more studies have to be done. So we are pretty much need to be watching everything. We should have a team of doctors that are just going through this information at all times and just kind of staying ahead of this as much as possible, because there is a lot of stuff that's coming up.
Let's see if we can squeeze this call in really quickly. Caller, you got about 30 seconds. Good morning.
Good morning, Dwight. How you doing?
Doing well.
I just wanted to ask a question in regards to sanitation. I remember when this COVID first started, and we only had one or two or three cases. Everything was being wiped down. Every place you go, they had staff members walking around with bottles of spray and cloths and wiping down everything. After you move from one place, somebody comes behind you, wipe. But all of that seems to have fallen away. When you walk into a supermarket or a food store or any hardware, they got the thing by the door, the sanitizer. and nobody's there to do it. Maybe your security might say, put your mask up and this and that and that. But the wash downs in the evenings and the sanitizers, all of that stopped. Why?
Yeah, interesting point. Thank you, Sparky.
Yeah.
People remember we were washing our groceries even in cardboard packages. It seemed at the beginning of the pandemic. That's changed.
So that's the importance of data. So, and I think I said this earlier on before I left. This whole thing with washing down everything and how productive it was. So there were studies that came out that said that it's not really transmitted that way, and that it kind of dies on certain surfaces and stuff. And so I think that's why you saw a lot of that kind of go away, because as information came out more, learning more about transmission and really it being direct respiratory droplets, you have to understand that people go by the sense of what information that they have. And earlier on in the pandemic, we didn't know what this was. There were talks of this being airborne and all different types of things. And you're seeing a lot of that has kind of fallen away. Airborne in the sense that like widely airborne. That has kind of fallen away a bit as more information has come out. So it's important to keep hygiene and clean surfaces. But I think that intense cleaning stuff that they were doing before had kind of fallen away just because of information that came out.
One final question.
So,
Somebody's asking here, so what do you think? How will we get out of this? What needs to be done?
Well, we have to keep up certain protocols. Hand washing and those things are going to be important. But I think we have to realize the nature of things. So if you study virology and you study biology and how these things work, a virus is very difficult to stop. That's why we have influenza has now become endemic. We're just aware of it. I think with our immune systems eventually, and as you can see in some parts of the world, even though they're getting cases, the severity of those cases are declining because our immune systems tend to build up over time for viruses. And even when they mutate, unless they make a very large drift or shift in mutations, then you won't see these spikes. I think the way that we're handling it, we're almost kind of going to be dealing with these variants off and on for quite a while, and then it's going to wane over time. Unless I said there's some large drift in the mutations. But I think naturally, our bodies are going to be able to fight this off closer to the flu in the long run. And it's what we do in between that time that determines how well we will do as a country. That's just the natural process of a virus. What we've done in terms of reacting to COVID is probably the biggest globally done reaction to something before, because we're so connected now and we can see what was happening in other countries. We were able to respond, but we've never responded like this before. And so viruses will mutate. That is their way of survival. If they don't do that, then they would be killed off. But usually they become endemic, they become a part of our way of life, and we learn to deal with them. And our immune systems adjust. And so we are in the first generation of children. My son is born in a COVID environment. I think if we were to do studies as we go along, we will find that those children will not have the type of reaction to COVID that we are, because it was novel to us. And in a sense, it kind of picked out the weak, the weakest persons, the weakest immune systems, the people who had chronic problems. And that is the way that disease worked, which is very unusual too, because we saw very low numbers of COVID in children, but it had a specific grouping of people that it went after. And I think that is why I say we need a long-term plan, because I don't think COVID is going to go away.
Wow. Very bold statements there, Dr. D. Archer. And if you like what you're hearing from Dr. Archer, again, her show returns live. We've been doing reruns for the past few months while she's been on maternity break. Again, congratulations to you on that. But you're back live Tuesday, and you're going to be there every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. right here on Guardian Radio.
Yes, thank you, Dwight. And, I look forward to it. I like to have an educated discussion. And I think we should, bring that up to the level for everybody to be able to understand and flow with it. And that's how we're going to get good communication and make changes in the society.
All right. Looking forward to the show Tuesday. Great to have you back. Dr. D. Archer, thank you again.
All right.
All right, Stephen, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more on this matter with the Beatles on this boat, Grand Bahama. That's coming from Morning Blend Business right after the news. Stay with us.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
This is the Guardian News Network update on the hour. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlene Ferguson. With another holiday weekend upon us, Consultant Physician Staff Association President Dr. Sabrika Pindler-Butler says it would have been wise for the Prime Minister to announce some additional restrictive measures to slow COVID spread over the next 2 to 3 days. Pindler-Butler says beach restrictions or even a longer nightly curfew could have helped.
What we're dealing with now, today, means that there's going to be an automatic increase probably in the next 1 or 2 weeks. That means it's going to be even worse. Sometimes I think the government then has to step in and make hard decisions that may not be favored by all.
Her concern is that public hospitals are already beyond capacity due to the increasing number of COVID patients, which as of Wednesday numbered 106. Instead of more restrictions, though, the Prime Minister opted instead to implore Bahamians to get vaccinated and follow existing COVID protocol. Well, PLP leader Philip Davis says that asking Bahamians to get vaccinated when the country is facing a critical shortage of COVID vaccine makes no sense. He says despite anguished pleas from beleaguered hospitals and medical professionals, government is again slow to respond and instead of comprehensive preparation is again reacting or improvising. There was another long line of persons outside of Loyola Hall yesterday awaiting their second dose of COVID vaccine. Government has temporarily suspended first doses until additional vaccine arrives in country, hopefully next week. And the effort is underway to ensure that a shipment of wood believed infested with tree-eating beetles does not pose a risk to indigenous vegetation. Bahamas National Trust Executive Director Eric Carey says a vessel carrying the likely destructive cargo was turned away from Louisiana, but that somehow it was allowed to offload in Grand Bahama after the vessel did not honestly declare what it had on board. Carey says the wood is now in the possession of sanitation services and has been sprayed with insecticides to prevent the beetles escaping into the natural habitat. That's what's making headlines at this hour. Stay with us. AP Update is next.
Beulah gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood. We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too? Of course we can. But we could be in deep trouble if they find out. We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami. So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles. Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal. So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time. This traffic report is brought to you by Shield Insurance and Prudential Loss Adjusters.
Final look at traffic now in the southwest gateways to the city. Still there with the most congestion and traffic that's being hung up and wanting to get out into the city. Well, there are still a few hefty traffic lines that can be seen attempting to leave those areas, like Gladstone Road onto JFK, on the dual lanes with Samala Highway leading out there to Tawny and Darling, and Carmichael Road onto Blue Hill Road. On Blue Hill Road itself, the traffic is slow getting over the hill there, coming in from the deep south and into the Tawny and Darling roundabout below. And that area remains and still is the most congested. West Bay Street ride-in is busy but not congested. You've got inner-city streets like Collins Avenue, Shirley Street, Palmdale, Marathon, all having that morning flow, but a bit on the low side. It's comprised mainly of that stop-and-go traffic at the traffic lights and at the stop signs. No lengthy wait lines that will hold your rides up any longer. Here recent, the low morning commute says nothing, though, though, for what happens later on in the day, as midday traffic has encountered lots of bumper-to-bumper activity out here, moving about within the city. And Fridays, well, they're well known for being extremely busy. So we'll be on top of the situation today, throughout the day, to see if and how traffic really grows to any unprecedented levels. As of now, though, most of the rides across the island, pretty good. And those coming out of the southwest, well, still need more time to clear. This National Traffic Report is all being brought to you by the folks over at Garden of Eden, where you can enjoy the best boil and stew on the island. Delicious Bahamian breakfast from 7:30 each morning and straight through the weekend. Today, peas and grits with snapper and 2 slices is on the menu for lunch, and breakfast goes up all the way until 3 o'clock. The Garden of Eden in Eastwood, call them at 819-5574. That's 819-5574 for easy pickup directions and orders. With your Rider Sky look at traffic in real time, I'm VANN.
I'm Rita Foley with an AP News Minute. Americans spent more in June, a solid 1% more. The economy's recovering from the pandemic recession, but it's facing new risks now, mainly because of the more contagious Delta variant of the coronavirus. President Biden's trying to convince unvaccinated Americans to get their shots, and now he's putting new rules into place for millions of federal government workers. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Magani.
In a bid to boost flagging vaccination rates, the president will require federal workers to attest that they've been vaccinated or face mandatory masking, testing, and other rules. He's also asking the Pentagon to look at adding the COVID shots to vaccines troops are required to get, and he's urging state and local governments to offer $100 to people who get shots.
With incentives and mandates, we can make a huge difference and save a lot of lives.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
And I'm Rita Foley.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Friday, July 30th, 2021. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan along with Stephen Hanna, and this morning we continue our discussion, which we started earlier in the show, about this situation in Grand Bahama with infested wood with some dangerous beetles and possibly more. For more on what's happening here, if you haven't been following, take a listen to this piece from our partners at RTV, Christina Dragovich.
And an investigation has been launched into how a boat carrying cargo infested with invasive beetles was allowed to offload on Grand Bahama. Bahamas National Trust Executive Director Eric Carey says he heard the news that a cargo ship was turned away from a port in New Orleans when it was discovered that wood on board was infested with a type of Asian beetle known for feeding on wood. According to Carey, the cargo is now in the possession of the sanitation services in Grand Bahama and has been sprayed with insecticide to prevent the chances of the beetle escaping into the natural habitat.
Unfortunately, it appears that the vessel did not declare honestly what it had on board and indicated that there was no danger associated with the cargo and it was inadvertently cleared.
Carey says he's not sure of the species of beetle identified on the wood, but another type of invasive bark beetle is already attacking wood on Abaco.
It's very scary that something like this could happen because of the fact that this beetle could be very destructive to an already obviously very distressed pine forest system that is still struggling to figure out how it's going to recover from the devastating effects of Hurricane Dorian.
Carey says this is why import control is so important.
Okay, our Christina Dragovich with RTV with that report there. So that gives you a picture of what's going on. For more on this, we're very pleased to welcome environmental activist with Save the Bays, Joseph Darville. Joe Darville, good morning, sir. Great to have you with us.
Great. Thank you so much. And a pleasant good morning to you and to Bahama Land.
All right, so many of us heard your voice note after the initial article was circulated widely yesterday morning, and you did some investigations on your own and came up with some information. Before we let you tell us more, I just want to say we did reach out to the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection and the Forestry Unit, and they are investigating this as well, and they say they will as soon as they complete their investigations, talk to us and release a statement or more about this. But let's hear what you came up with, Joe Darville, what you were able to find out yesterday.
Well, someone forwarded that information to me. That was the article that had all the details about the types of bugs or beetles that were infested in that wood that had to be disposed somewhere, somehow. And so I became extremely concerned. So I immediately began to pass it around to relevant persons, including the Minister of the Environment and others, my colleagues in the environment, whether Save the Bays or Waterkeepers Bahamas. As you know, we are in desperation to safeguard our environment for future generations, and we cannot allow foreign entities to come here willy-nilly and actually dump all of this mess on us to destroy what we have, what has been given to us. And in the process, fortunately, I had sent it also to the operator of the landfill here in Grand Bahama, which, you know, is probably the model in the whole Caribbean, how well it is done under the guidance of Lou Carroll, you know, a fellow Long Islander. And so I got a message back from him soon after that, because it was only then that he realized that this stuff should never have been offloaded on Grand Bahama.
So they had no idea. They didn't know what
he
this
said
was.
He had no idea that it was infested. He said that he apparently was called from the other company that I mentioned before, and that he had picked up a certain amount of it. Unfortunately, he had put it aside in the landfill area. And so immediately when he got my message, he proceeded to go there and to fumigate, to spray what was there.
So it had already been placed there before they fumigated.
Definitely.
Okay.
It was brought from apparently the other company, which actually handled the offloading of it, and is still sitting at their site here in Freeport. And so he didn't know that until I forwarded that information to him. And so he became very aggrieved because I think I made him understand that you cannot fumigate that wood. That means that these beetles are resistant to that type of stuff. So they are embedded in the wood. There are 5 different kinds, and they are known to devastate forests, greens, farms, etc., in the United States, wherever they are at a level of infestation. And so, you know, my heart bleeds to know that someone would be so irresponsible, even if the ship itself, and the fact the ship left New Orleans on the 26th of the month and made its way, and the article indicated that it was making its way to Grand Bahama. So someone who had some idea of what ships, the track that ships take to come to this country, they should have followed up on that and to find out exactly what was on that ship that was headed for Freeport, Grand Bahama. So there got to be either a duping of the people on the ship, or the company who's handling the ship, or we are someone here in Grand Bahama, Freeport, is in league with these people who are putting this situation on Freeport, our Bahamas, our land, which is trying to come back now. And, you know, it torments me because we're talking about planting trees, we're talking about growing food to eat and all of that, and then we're going to allow something like that to come in. So it is definitely the responsibility of the central government of the Bahamas, the local environmental department here, the environmental department, the national environmental department, and the environmental department of Freeport. It is primarily the responsibility of the environmental of Freeport to know whatever comes in here. We have been infested with all sorts of things and invasive species, and snakes come in. These multi-legged beetle bugs. They come in, they crawl around. All of these things are brought in. Things come in here. People have told me who work at the container port, they have seen snakes come in those containers. So what are we doing in order to control what comes into? If you come through customs and you bring an apple or an orange from the United States, that is confiscated. You're not allowed to do it. So why are big companies allowed to willy-nilly offload all sorts of reprehensible materials and so forth in this country? Dwight, it grieves me, and it should grieve every Bahamian. And I am so happy that the noise in the market now about this travesty is so loud, so adamant. I think my people are understanding why we have a sacred obligation to protect these islands, these lands, these woods, these mangroves, our ocean, etc.
All right, so many questions. Stephen, you want to go? Yeah.
Yeah, my question is, what is being done about the ship that brought it in? Because I feel like under any other circumstances, like did I mishear did I mishear them saying that the ship didn't declare it correctly or something like that?
Well, that is what I had heard, that the ship, this is what was told to me, that the ship did not, they just indicated that they had so much tonnage to offload. But even still, shouldn't that be examined before it is offloaded a ship? If you bring in particularly wood, anything of that nature, that should be investigated before, even if the ship itself or the people who own the ship trying to pull one on our little Bahamas, that they still think of some plantation, where these black people live and we could dump anything on them. Even there, our authorities should have been able to investigate thoroughly. And that ship was on the way for 4 or 5 days from where it was rejected, docking. And the article indicated it was heading for the Bahamas. So who monitors social media? Where is our authorities who supposed to know of everything coming into the Bahamas? Where is our defense force? So these are the things that really are worrisome. And the fact is, as far as I know, the ship is gone. The stuff is offloaded. It's sitting at part of it at the landfill here in Freeport, and the rest of it at the other company who apparently assisted with the offloading it from the ship.
I mean, the reason I said that is because that feels like this is now a super legal matter, in the sense that if you declare falsely to any country, what you're bringing into that country, that's a serious legal matter. So, I mean, there's that, but also I don't think it has to even do with social media. If we have a system, you're supposed to know where boats are coming from and where they're going to.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
and the reason, and if you're saying that you have too much weight and you just left a place, the question is, how did this happen? Why? What do you mean you have too much weight and you just need to offload it? Well, what's the reason behind it? You know what I mean? These things seem straightforward things, but is there? I'm hearing that they're doing the investigation. Is there anything being done in terms of speaking directly to, that company did this, and this is the legal ramifications for that company and all the persons associated with that company?
Well, absolutely. And I think immediately the Attorney General should be on this situation, because action has to be brought. If they duped our authorities, by claiming it was not a matter of they having to offload it because they were carrying too much tonnage.
Right, they lied.
The fact is they could not offload it any place else in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
And so Bahamas, little dinky Bahamas, plantation people, they don't mind. We'll bring it here. We'll bring it to the Bahamas. But then who facilitated them? The moment that ship entered our waters, the Defense Force should have known. The Department of Marine should have known. Yeah. Department of Agriculture should have known, particularly if anything related to anything that grows like wood. Our Forestry Department, the Agriculture Department should have been informed so that an investigation should have taken place before one iota of that lumber, that wood, rested itself on the bosom and the breast of Mother Earth in the archipelagic nation of the Bahamas.
And it doesn't seem that has happened. It does from what we're
hearing. That is not happening. So it is a legal matter.
Yeah.
And that ship, by international law, if they deceived our people, they should be penalized to the nth degree. Now, I don't know what could happen to this. The operator of the landfill here is an incredibly responsible person. So I'm sure he will do all that he can. But spraying, and I want to be in touch with him later on, the spraying is not going to be able to kill those animals.
From what you understand, what was it sprayed with? You said, what was it, like over the counter, something you could buy in the store, or what was it, something professional?
I'm sure that knowing him, it was something very professional. But the fact is that, if it's a big 25-foot pile of materials and wood, how are you going to get down into, because these beetles, they burrow into the heart of the wood. Mm-hmm. And in a very short period of time, they could devastate forests, growths, gardens, farms, etc. And so they get loose. And listen, even, Dwight and Stephen, even the fact of loading that stuff from one place to another, putting it in a place at the company here, and then having it to be picked up by sanitation services to be taken there. Who knows how many of those beetles have escaped and are now already permeating our forestry here? My God, I know.
I don't know how smooth your roads are, but I know the roads in Nassau are bumpy. So several of those beetles would have been shaken off.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Right? And then you got forests all through Grand Bahama. So it's I don't see how this will not. This is a concern.
Oh, it's absolutely terrible. It's a national concern. It's a devastating blow to our economy, our country, and particularly to Grand Bahama. And the fact is that someone should have already dictated to sanitation services and to the other company where the stuff is stored that you do not touch that. That should be examined by experts, and it should be burned in place. Spraying it is not going to help. It should be burned. It should be cordoned off, and it should be set afire and burned.
Do we
know to the ashes?
Everybody's saying that this morning. Burn it. Has that not happened yet? Are we not there yet? Do you know what is happening?
I don't know. By now, with all the hullabaloo that were put out there yesterday, and all the people concerned, our government, our prime minister, who is ultimately the eminent authority over all these matters, he should have already given some statement. If not him, then one of the representatives on Grand Bahama, my good friend, the Minister of Agriculture, or even I've been working with the first person I contacted who responded, as he always does, is Hiram Lewis. He responded to me immediately. He expressed his horror that this could happen on this island. And then he followed up, and then he got back to me and he said, it is being dealt with. So, I got a response from him. I sent the information to the Minister of the Environment. I haven't heard back. I sent it to other people, they all have it. They got to have it. It's there. It's there. The Tribune carried a comprehensive information on it. They printed the whole article about the ship itself and what it was carrying and why it could not offload anywhere. So, by now we should have someone on the radio, on television, saying what is going to happen to that catastrophe that has been plotted and perpetrated on our island.
Well, okay, let's take a break. When we come back, more on this. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are talking with Joseph Darville, the environmental activist on Grand Bahama with Save the Bays. This is a disturbing situation that we are facing here. We're going to be back with more. Stay with us.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
It's so summer with Esso, and that's why we're giving away thousands of dollars in fuel, food, and other fun prizes every week. Simply fuel up at $25 or more. Enter using your receipt, and you could be a winner this summer with Esso. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bettergasmileage.com/its-so-summer or our Facebook page for details. Promotion ends August 29th, 2021. It's fun! Food, fuel, and other great prizes every week. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
Wait, why you look so mashed up like clothes at the washer?
No, but just a hard day. What?
Hard day? What happened? The breakfast lady ran out of tuna and gritty.
We need to start joking about everything, you know. This serious, boy. This real serious, boy.
Wait, what's serious? Tell me.
All right, well, today, boss gave us boy one big contract. And nobody else get a chance and nobody say nothing.
Boy, you know that ain't right. You know government contracts ain't supposed to go that way.
Yeah, but nobody's saying nothing. Boss man just tell people to sign the papers. Then he send me to meet this boy downtown and collect this envelope.
You need to tell somebody. You need to become a whistleblower.
You know I's a real man, but I never blow no whistle. I be drunk all my life and junk.
No way. A whistleblower is someone who tells people what they see when they see something wrong happening at work.
But I ain't no whistleblower, and I ain't no snitch. I still white there, you know.
But ain't nobody can know it's you. All you gotta do is call Crime Stoppers, or you could text them from inside the Crack Crime Bahamas app. They don't ask about you. And your call goes straight through to Miami, so nobody know you is. And if you text, your message get mixed up like Kong Salad.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau, or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. Financial Secretary Marlon Johnson says that the details of the government's above projections revenue performance for the fiscal year 2020-2021 will be revealed in the coming weeks as the Ministry of Finance finishes its full-year fiscal snapshot report. His comments coming after Prime Minister Minnis boasted of improved revenue performance ahead of projections during his national address on Wednesday. The government had projected it would collect $1.76 billion in total revenue for the 2020-21 fiscal year. Given that up to March 31st, the end of the third quarter, revenue receipts totaled $1.22 billion. That means revenue is ahead of the approximate $54 million expected to be collected in the final quarter of the year. You can read more about Johnson's comments in today's Guardian Business section. There's no widespread usage of the central bank's sand dollar digital currency as yet, as all stakeholders have chiefly focused on ensuring the technology behind the currency is stable and robust. That's according to Central Bank Governor John Roll, who says that campaigns to encourage the use of the world's first central bank digital currency campaigns are currently underway. Roll, who made the comments during an appearance on the International Monetary Fund's interview series, The Exchange, explained that the development of the technology platforms have been completed and the push to get behemoths trading the currency is now the focus. Royal Caribbean International revealing that the Bahamas is in the top 5 of its ultimate holiday bucket list for 2021 for UK travelers. According to Royal Caribbean, a survey shows that nearly half of UK holidaymakers' bucket lists are longer than ever before since the pandemic, making it clear that the UK's zeal for holidays and experiences is greater than ever. The Bahamas fell behind only Australia, Canada, Alaska, and Barbados. The survey was commissioned by Royal Caribbean and coincided with the cruise line's recent return to sailing. Royal Caribbean Vice President Ben Boulden saying that potential passengers' time without cruising has made them seek adventure and holiday options. And new travel insights from the UK-based World Travel and Tourism Council show that a 161% increase in the number of airline tickets purchased for travel out of the UK to the Bahamas before the COVID-19 pandemic. Visitors from the UK accounted for just about 2% of annual stopover arrivals. The data shows that airline tickets booked for international trips out of the UK increased an average of 24% in the week to July 13th compared to the previous week. Weekly flight tickets for future travel from the UK to traditional destinations have exceeded pre-pandemic levels. More on these stories in today's Guardian Business section. In your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX. From Thursday, market movers, AML Foods Limited moving 1,000 shares, closing at $6.50, up 1 cent. Commonwealth Bank moving 6,000, up 9 cents to $2.74. Finco moving 8,250, up 5 cents to $8.35. Consolidated Water up 1 cent to $2.51. Emira Incorporated up 7 cents to $11.52. The BISX All Share Index closing at 1,972.77, up 12.47. That's your Market Watch, and that is your morning business report brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations. We're back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Stephen Hanna. We are talking with Joe Darville, the environmental activist in Grand Bahama, about this situation with invasive beetles that arrived on a shipment of wood and dumped at the landfill in Grand Bahama, and the concerns now about this. So just from what we understand about these animals, and what is the worst case scenario here? If even in this limited amount of time that they've been on the island, what could happen? What could have already started to happen?
Well, I would suspect that I wasn't given exactly the time, the day, and the date and the time that the certain amount of it was offloaded at the landfill. But fortunately, the manager there had the presence of mind to put it aside. I'm not sure exactly why he did that, but that time period, whether it was 1 hour or 10 minutes, would have allowed some of those animals to escape from the wood and probably penetrate the area around the landfill. With respect to the major amount of the stuff that still is on the site of the company who was responsible for offloading it from the ship, the demon ship, I would call it. I don't know what could have happened there, because if that's been in there for so long, and with the rains that we've had and with this heat, a multitude of them could have already escaped. And so this is why I am impressing upon our government to expeditiously, without haste, get to see what this is all about, make a decision on it, and if the best process is to light it a fire, cover it with petrol, and light it a fire to burn and kill those down to ashes, we may have been able to have a certain amount of control on it. That would be in the case of what is already at the sanitation site, and also what is at the other company's site, which was Bradford Marine. I already said that in my message that went out. That's the company that was responsible for taking it off the ship and putting on their site, and Sanitation Services has already picked up some of it and carried it to the landfill. Fortunately, divinely guided, it was not dumped in the landfill right away. It was put on the side. And so nothing is going to kill those beetles unless they are consumed by fire. And I would hope that the government would be advised by our Minister for the Environment, our Minister for Agriculture, and anyone with responsibility. Dwight, I want to mention here that, this is a continuing predicament on how there's such negligence when it comes to matters like these on the island of Grand Bahama, and specifically in Freeport. You have the situation with the long, eternal thing with all of those companies spewing all this poison down over the schools in Hunters, Louisiana, and the White Hawksbill. And it's because I was almost murdered and assassinated because I made those companies become responsible, particularly the Syntex one. So they could come in here and do all of this stuff. So all of those companies, we had to, I persuaded Edward St. George and Sir Jack to move Catholic High out of there. I was a principal. I used to go out there in the mornings at 6 o'clock to open up the classroom windows and the doors to air them out because of all the filth that was in there. And so this whole situation has not been properly handled by any of our government administrations. They have allowed, consciously or unconsciously, hundreds of people to die. 14 students predeceased me from one class alone in 1988, and 12 of them died as a result of industrial pollution. Verified by a slew of doctors. And then you have a situation just the other day with 3 men dying. Is that going to be examined to see whether or not there was negligence on the part of that company? That 3 of our people who are working can just expire like that in a tunnel? What kind of training do they have? I go back to the Equinor situation. This is why I'm so adamant about my people and protection that we need to have for them. When Equinor started to clean up the oil, the Americans that came in, they wore hazmat suits and masks and all of that. I went out there to examine exactly how they were doing it, what was happening to the Bahamian workers. They were walking. Unfortunately, they had boots on, but they were walking through 1-foot oil with no protection on their face, over their eyes, etc. And so, if you probably recall, I made a big hullabaloo about that. And then the people, when we got a meeting with them to express our discomfort and about how they were treating Bahamians, the lady told me, you know what she said? We made the stuff available to the Bahamians just like the foreigners, but the Bahamians didn't want to wear them. Wow. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
I mean, Dwight and Stephen, this whole situation on Grand Bahama has to be examined with a fine-tooth comb. Too much foolishness goes on here. The whole area, if this is going to be the industrial area of Grand Bahama, we have to have an industrial investigative department here to make sure that whatever comes in, like I told you about the container ports, and this isn't something that I came at the top of my head. I have talked to people who work there, and it's not only cocaine and stuff that go through that and stuff like that, but also animals like snakes, etc., and so on. How do you think the poisonous frogs got into the western part of New Providence? Right. And so we got to be a little bit more careful about our environment. God only knows what we're going to pass on to future generations if we as responsible adults don't become more conscientized to make sure that we safeguard our environment, the ocean, the land, the trees, everything that will be there for our future generation to prosper on.
All right, we've got a lot of calls and a lot of messages coming through. Let's see if we can take some of these. Good morning, caller. You're on Morning Blend Business.
Hey, good morning, Dwight, Stephen, and Mr. Dalbo. Good morning to the nation.
Hi, good morning.
I joined in a bit late, but I caught some of Dr. Archie's conversation. It was an excellent conversation, I thought, too, Dwight, just for the record. Okay. Dwight, if you recall, we had a similar conversation to this last week when you had, I think, Mr. or Miss Molly and someone else on your show, and we were talking about how the shipping lanes are backed up and looking at other avenues to import products into the country, where I brought to the attention that the government would need to beef up its Standards Bureau division in order to be able to more expeditiously and effectively execute its duties, because we do not know the quality, the standards, the consistency of products coming in from these other countries, etc. And it could lead to a lot of problems, such as what we're seeing right now, where these items were not allowed to offload into America or North America, and they were allowed to offload in our country. But this leads to a national security problem in our country. That's the first and foremost thing that comes to mind right off the bat as it relates to what happened. This is a national security issue, and this should rise to the highest levels of investigation and of people being held accountable in our country, because we have a problem right now, as the Commissioner of Police states regularly, with not being able to identify the origin of products that are creating serious problems on the streets in our country, right? And this is an outlet that demonstrates exactly how such products could be entering our country, and it speaks to the lack and the slackness that is occurring on both the government side and the private sector side with our shipping companies operating on Grand Bahama, and who knows, perhaps even in Nassau, because we just do not know. How is it that we have perhaps in operating in Grand Bahama, I think the top 5 or top 7 largest shipping container port, and we have such a slack operation taking place. We do not know what else is going on in our country and how long it has been happening in our country. This is just a synopsis to demonstrate what exactly is going on, but some serious levels of investigation to take place. And finally, Dwight, as Mr. Dowell is stating, because you have to look at you have to look at all possibilities. We do not know where and how far those bugs may have spread in our country. And so we need to know how far, in terms of containment, the government is going to try and contain a possible problem that develop in our country. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
Let's take this call quickly. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Bahamas, and good morning, Dr. Davo.
Good morning.
Yes, just to let you know, the bug, it's a longhorn beetle type that feeds on variety of trees. And I think what we have to be aware of is that, and Dwight, just 2 points. The young lady that you had on your show, Miss Eden Mary Gator, just about 2 days ago did an article concerning the need for protection of the waters and ships entering into the countries, concerning the green economy and the blue economy, concerning invasive species and doing damages. But this is not the first time something like this has happened. A few years ago, there's another ship came in with some killer wasps that we was redirected here, and we offloaded it here in the same capacity. Even to date, we don't do any checking to see if any of those wasps escapes. The problem is if you set those woods on fire, immediately, if any live beetles are in there, the heat, the smoke, whatever, will cause them to go away. So they have to be contained before they're burned or anything else of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
But this beetle, But this beetle is within a matter of weeks. This did hundreds of millions worth of damages in the U.S. Here's what happened: this boat was carrying a shipment of aluminum, and aluminum is packed in this wood. And so after they offloaded, they were sitting in the Louisiana Channel or somewhere, and the customs or whatever it is in the U.S. came to check them, and they noticed these woods laid scattered around the deck, and they asked a question as to why were they there, and they wondered why I think it was Mexico or somewhere that did not allow them to offload it, which they became very suspicious. And so when they checked it, here's what the key is: they saw live borings. Mm-hmm. Live borings comes from mothers or whoever is going into the wood, meaning that there was adults there, not just the larvas. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is, and Darvel, you made a very important point. There's alerts that you can put on, shipping alerts, and all of these things as part of our infrastructure institution that has to go out. And those alerts allows you to look for keywords and everything else, shipping alerts, all of these things is stuff. This is part of what is called a 21st century environment, utilizing technology, because there is a shipping manifested type environment of data that's available on a daily basis, where ships is going, with problems they're having, with issues they have at various different ports. All of these things is readily available. These news people, NOLA and the rest of them, they got it from the same alert system 2 days ago, even though this was in the system from the 17th of July that they gave notification to the U.S. when they were leaving that they were heading for the Bahamas. But let me just wrap this up. But this is not only an insect and a problem. There's some chemical problems. And, not to diverge direct, but just as you said, example, where the 3 young people passed their lives. A few years ago, but a year ago, remember the ship that was on fire that no country would allow into the country? That ship was allowed into the Grand Bahama Harbor. And, in fact, the just past KCX and I did some live broadcasts protesting the ship and the fact that individuals was offloading the ship and working in those chemical environment without the protective gear. At the same place where those individuals that lose their lives, they had no mask, no gloves, no nothing. They didn't have the option where they refused them. They did not have them. We need a comprehensive examination of ships coming through our waters, passing through. In fact, I support the position, Ms. Gator put out there, that we need to establish a Marine Patrol to protect us, and we need to begin to just, and how do we cover it? We charge for transit through our country. That's how we pay for the Marine Patrol and everything else, because we're talking about a shift in agriculture. This could devastate agriculture in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Throughout the whole country, not just Grand Bahama.
Thank you, my brothers. Listen, I got another urgent meeting in a couple minutes, so I have to leave, unfortunately.
Yes, Joe Darville, thank you.
But I think the message is out there now, and it's up to the authorities now, and I could be back after I hear from them to know that they are onto this, and I say to them expeditiously so, the Grand Bahama Port Authority and our central government have to make this a priority, because as the former speaker just said, these things can escape very easily, very quickly, and so they must be contained. At this particular point, if nothing has been done, they are already in our forest. You can bet on that.
Thank you so much, Joe Darville, for talking with us. We really appreciate it. We definitely will be following this. Thank you again. We're going to take a break and be back. We've got more of your calls and your messages, but thanks to Joe Darville. This is crazy. We're going to be back with more Morning Blend Business. Stay with us.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
It's so summer with Esso, and that's why we're giving away thousands of dollars in fuel, food, and other fun prizes every week. Simply fuel up at $25 or more. Enter using your receipts, and you could be a winner this summer with Esso. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bettergasmileage.com/its-so-summer or our Facebook page for details. Promotion ends August 29th, 2021. It's fun! Food, fuel, and other great prizes every week. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
And we've got your final look at weather for this holiday weekend. We've got high pressure coupled with Saharan dust. It's going to dominate the weather pattern across the country. Boaters should be alert for possible waterspouts. Beachgoers in the southeast Bahamas should be alert for rip currents at East Coast beaches. And everybody's being advised to remain hydrated and limit outdoor activities, as we're expecting another day of intense heat with heat indices in the triple digits again. For all areas today, look for mostly sunny, hot, and hazy conditions with a few isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms mainly offshore. Expect breezy conditions in the southeast Bahamas today. Mostly fair and warm tonight. Small craft caution remains in effect for the southeast Bahamas. Temperatures today getting up to around 92 Fahrenheit, 33 Celsius, but the big story is the heat index, 110 Fahrenheit, 43 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure will remain the dominant weather feature throughout the holiday weekend. So for tomorrow, Saturday, partly mostly sunny and hot with a few isolated showers and a slight chance of thunderstorms. Sunday, partly sunny and hot and a few showers and the chance of isolated thunderstorms. Expect breezy conditions in the central and southeast Bahamas. The tropics are quiet, though, and we're not expecting tropical cyclone formation through the next 5 days. That's your morning blend weather check. And we're back here with Morning Blend Business. Dwight Strachan along with Stephen Hanna. I want to thank Joe Darville again for speaking with us this morning. We've got some of your calls coming in. Let's take them. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. People asking these questions. We don't know the answers to them yet, Stephen, but we're waiting. We all want to know what's going on here and what is going to be done about this lumber, about these beetles. It's
the important
been
thing
days
is for us
now.
to not forget.
To what?
For us to not forget. I said that's the important thing, because it's like it's great that we're concerned now. I need us to be concerned next week, Thursday.
Hopefully we'll have answers long before that. My God.
No, I mean, yes,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have answers. But even if we don't have answers, we should also not forget by next week, Thursday. Because we have a big issue with that, where it's like we seem to be incapable of saving any of our energy for next week inside this country. We get upset about something on Friday, and by next week, Tuesday, we on to the next issue.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. All right. These text messages. Boy. Okay. This text here. Do you realize how ironic this is? We're talking about acting against beetles that can destroy our vegetation, which we should. But for COVID-carrying tourists who can potentially trigger the deaths of hundreds of Bahamians, we tell them, come in and party on. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Why was his cargo ship offloaded here? Did someone order the lumber? Shouldn't there be a manifesto that gives us details on what's been ordered and who ordered it? What are the ordinary procedures for cargo coming into the country? Were the procedures ignored? Makes no sense to me. Our borders are supposed to be properly protected. Yeah, well, again, as people say, it's not the first time something similar to this has happened. People have been concerned about what's getting in on plants for many, 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 many years, and in cargo containers, and people that are smuggling in and out products and animals. It is frightening what's going on and what's been allowed to happen. So a lot needs to be done, definitely. Stephen, as you say, we won't forget. We've got to keep following up on this. Again, I've been promised that there is an investigation underway. The Department of Planning and Protection is looking into this. The Forestry Unit, a part of that investigation as well. Hopefully we will learn what indeed happened here and act quickly. We have lost a lot of time. Those beetles are probably well on their move by now. And, of course, you know how easily things will spread throughout the whole country. The whole country. If it's on one island, it's going to be here in no time. Boy, anyway, Stephen, thank you so much. As always, hope you have a wonderful holiday weekend.
That's a surprise to me. Didn't know.
I just don't understand. I have all the holidays for the next 3 years planned out and in my brain. But anyway, but yes, enjoy Emancipation Day, very August sad. Monday. It is sad. Be safe, folks. Please remember we're in the middle of this dangerous pandemic. We have to be acting responsibly, and don't forget that at all. Hope to talk to you again Tuesday morning. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green coming up next.
Wake up, it's a new day.